Hey guys,
Hey, the number two Star Wars fan, James Bruno. His initials are JJ, but they are not to be mistaken for Abrams. We will let you do your ranking of the Star Wars saga. But first, we have to let the Oreo cookie himself go first.
Oh, you don't want me to go last and make it scorched earth?
Nope. Glad you can join us, Bruno. Just so you know, Master Yoda is also here.
oh, how good to see you, Master Yoda.
That's great.
To wrap up
Star Wars, Obi, how are you doing?
To wrap up my theory real quick,
I can only do one voice. Just
my
one.
hot take was there is no such thing as a Star Wars fan. There's just people who like the first movie.
Oh, I thought your broader take, Jamie, which I was agreeing with.
I can give you a
There are
broader take.
fans of movies. There are fans of each Star Wars movie.
Yes,
rather than Star Wars fans, because you're right. It's as I described, it's more like a language, as I was saying about Rogue One.
Like
Yeah.
That is translated into Star Wars.
See, now there's a thing like Rogue One, like the AT-ATs being blown up. I mean, that kind of thing gets criticized on the Imperial Walkers. Sorry, I'm like my child. My inner child is talking. They're the toys.
Love it, I do.
But I mean, I like them. They were great in Empire Strikes Back, and I loved them as machines, as toys, and I was cool to see them destroyed in a different way. So I don't know where nostalgia comes in there, but I don't feel nostalgia. It was cool to see them get blown up. You know.
And the thing I got observation is that like I'm sitting there and I'm like, when that scene came up, I turned to my wife and I said, "Wait, they could have done that all along."
I know. Yeah.
That's how I was when I played video games. Absolutely.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold on. They couldn't get the T-47s out because it was too cold, so they had to use the snow walkers, and from what the snow speeders, and the snow speeders didn't have the firepower like the T-47s did. Oh God, I need a life. I got to get out more often. So what they did was they actually used the they thought the snow speeders lasers could bring those down. I think that's like the big, like,
it's a mild retcon. Same thing when you play the Rogue Squadron games and you're targeting and you're targeting the Super Star Destroyers like shield generator like it's gravy and mashed potatoes. It's like, I'm gonna get it. And it's like, okay, but I thought it was impossible to get to. Kind of. Sorta.
How could you hate Last Jedi? I mean, the beginning battle with the pilot catching the remote control with
gave me a headache.
The sound of all those bombs hitting the Star Destroyer
it was
I'm sorry.
And people are mad as hell about that shit. I love it.
Don't worry. Don't explain it for you. So
I'm honestly sorry no one enjoys those things.
I'm sorry people do enjoy it. Anyway.
Okay.
Silence, Cam. Okay, sorry, Yoda. All right, so we're gonna let Oreo go, and then we're gonna let James conclude the ceremony. You will each be knighted if Yoda loves your take. Spoiler: He probably will. He doesn't like me though. I don't know what it is. He's anal that way. So Oreo, you can rank the Star Wars comics, movies, and shows that you have seen.
Oh no, I had a whole list. I'll just do 5.
Okay.
Yeah, it's top 5's easier because we all did a whole list in ranking. This fucker would be at least 7 hours long.
Oh.
Yeah.
So 5 for me would be Darth Bane trilogy. I love that trilogy so much. Yeah, I love that. Drew is one of the best writers, and I think Mark Thompson narrated that, so it was a great combination there. I love that shit. I actually have Darth Bane's trading card too, from Galactic Files. I love that. 4, I would go with the Force Unleashed art book. I love that thing. It's so much fun. Because I like the behind the scenes stuff, and I like different concept art that they have in each art book, because I cover so many art books on the channel. And that one, you get trading cards in it, you get stuff that was cut out of the game itself, and I was like, man, I can't believe they cut that shit out. And it would have been so much fun as a whole new level to mess with, but oh well. 3, I will go with, I guess, TLJ. I like Last Jedi. That was fun in theaters with my sister. I had a great time. Saw that in D-Box.
All right.
Yeah, I love that. It was so much fun. Like, I've seen most of them in theaters, and they were just so amazing each time. And the hype behind it for each film was great. Because you have your trailer releases, you have your teaser posters, you have the international posters, and all these different interviews. And the one guy who kept teasing Daisy Ridley on spoilers for the movie.
That I will give you. This is where the fans were like, you couldn't tell who legit wanted to see it versus who were just out to hate on any character because they were black or female. It's like, that's not why I have an issue. I'm a pretty progressive guy.
For real. Like, I love that interview with Daisy. Like, so Daisy, can you tell me what's going to happen in episode 7? And she's like, gives that look and walks away. I'm like, yeah, she ain't going to give up shit.
Yeah.
That's so damn funny.
Unnecessary trolling. Anyway, so number 3 and 2 and 1.
So 2, I will go with Attack of the Clones. I saw that in theaters with my friend back in June 2002. I still had the stub for that. And that was so much fun sharing that with a friend. Like, I'd never done that before in my whole life. And we were both in high school when Attack of the Clones came out, and it was just so exciting seeing that on the big screen. Like, that was wild for back then, for me, anyway.
Love my fighting, did you?
Yeah, I did. I loved it.
Sexy I was.
Yeah, sexy little motherfucker.
Quiet down, Yoda. All right. Anyway.
And then number 1.
Number 1. Okay. Whoa.
Yeah, number 1 for me.
Sweep the leg.
Star Wars Resistance. I love that series. Everybody hates it because it's cell animation and it's aimed at kids, but at least there's no Jedi versus Sith aside from Kylo's appearance. Mm-hmm. And it's more based on the fighters that are there versus the rest of the universe as a whole.
Interesting.
Like, everybody picks all the other shit. I go for the lesser known stuff. Like, the lesser
underrated.
Yeah, underrated, lesser known. I like underrated shit.
Can I sneak the Ewok movies in there?
Yeah, fuck it. I know you love your teddy bears.
I just love Burl Ives' narration.
Throw him the hell and have Wilford Brimley go, I got diabetes and I'm with you.
Yeah, I can't wait for him to say that. And this was before Hard Target and the thing. This was after the thing.
Yeah, if he's charging out on one of those like horses from the modern movies carrying the shotgun from Hard Target.
Tombstone.
Oh, even better, yeah.
Yes,
Liv is sharing a weird photo with the entire group. Yeah, I'm not sure what this means.
It's all of us. So someone's asking about the guy who sells death sticks. That's why I dress up as.
That's my
spirit animal.
I thought it was Vincent D'Onofrio picking on the guy from Battlestar with an Asian gal and Princess Leia garb. Sorry.
That's your Rorschach test. You see what you want to see.
Okay.
Cameron, can I amend my top 5? I just realized Yoda going ballistic was an Attack of the Clones, not Revenge of the Sith. So.
Yeah.
That's my top 5. I should have known that.
Love you, I do.
Can you edit that back in? Or okay. That's all I had.
I'll add it back in.
Yoda does go ballistic in Revenge of the Sith.
We'll do it, but it's going to be as noticeable as a George Lucas special edition.
You can say he's going ballistic in Revenge of the Sith when he's fighting the Emperor across.
Oh, speaking of which, speaking of which, Darth Maul was in the movie Ballistic. Hey, see what it is.
X versus Server.
I like the actor, the actual character. Yeah. Darth Maul.
Ray Park. Anyway,
what the shit?
So Master Yoda, did Oreo pass the zany test? Like him, I do. Work on his noggin, I shall. Okay, I guess that's approval.
Oh, great! I'm gonna get skull fucked.
Yes.
Yeah, work on your noggin. I don't know what's that.
Robe it is. Anyway. Quiet down, Yoda. Quiet down. We're gonna get canceled if you go there. Okay.
Yes.
So coming up, James Bruno, the 70s man himself. How are you?
I'm good.
We're gonna let you rank whatever.
I'm coming late. I do apologize. I didn't realize the start time was.
No. It's good that we did that. It gave everyone. I was originally going to start at 8, but I just kind of allowed us an extra 2 hours, and we'll split this up so we can.
All right. So,
James, which podcast or what are you from? Sorry, I missed it.
I have a page called the Film Junkyard, and I will be starting a podcast soon.
Sweet.
And
it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. It is a big deal.
I know. But he really is. If you want to get retro, Cliff, ask this man.
I'm born in the 70s, man. Only Gil's.
I'm the guy. Wait, I want to say I'm the guy who lives in the Jundland Wastes, like next to Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's how. Like,
I have a bad feeling about this.
I mentioned the Oral Knots. If you haven't been there, their take on the Obi-Wan show, where they make him like, just go to Oral Knots on YouTube, and they make him into kind of like the weird like uncle that always has to like borrow money.
Oh, the homeless guy.
And so that like he's basically babysitting her, and he's like trying not to get her lost because he needs $50. And he's
oh my god, he needs to vape after work.
And he's lost. He like drinks a lot. It's awesome.
It must be that fish getting into his brain, I guess.
Just do Larry, Obi-Wan Larry, and it's amazing.
I'll look it up. That's great. So James, we're gonna let you rank anything on Star Wars related, books, movies, cartoons, shows.
I'm gonna say number 5. For me was Obi-Wan.
Oh, sweet.
Because number 1, he's next to Luke Skywalker, he's my favorite Jedi Knight, and this was like kind of like we got a lot of stuff filled in between, like Sith and A New Hope, because remember in A New Hope he says, last time I met you I was but a learner, now I am the master.
Yeah.
And you got to see why Obi-Wan was like the coolest Jedi before Luke took over. And it was great to see the character portrayed as this guy who's like broken. He doesn't, he just wants to live on Tatooine alone. He watches Luke from afar because he just wants Luke to be safe. And, he gets the call from Bail Organa, our daughter's been kidnapped. You have to go find her.
That's why I was joking earlier. In this movie, in this miniseries, he's the equalizer.
Yeah. It's like he becomes like some sort of like he doesn't even use a lightsaber the first couple episodes. He uses like kung fu and a blaster, and I'm like, okay, come on. I'm like thinking to myself, okay, come on. But you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, we're seeing a side of him we never saw before. And for him, for now we get the connection when she goes, Ben Kenobi, where is he? That's where, that's what was so great. And to see Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen go one more time, the great thing is like, he throws Ewan McGregor around the first time around. He's like, I'm going to make you burn. And then like Ewan McGregor's, when the next time they meet, he's like, oh yeah, watch this shit. You're Emperor through the Senate. I'm going to throw a whole fucking bunch of boulders at your ass.
Now I want to see a Clint Eastwood style preview for this recut. They messed with the wrong man. He only shoots once.
And the ending was just a big, was just like the big thing where like, Qui-Gon Jinn appears out of nowhere. I called you. Where were I just wasn't ready to appear yet, and that's the great thing about it. It was like this like thing where he's like, and then he says, come on, we got a lot more to travel. And then that's when you start to realize Obi-Wan hasn't finished his training yet.
For me,
so that's true. Yeah,
for me, that was that was a better moment than when Luke came in Mandalorian season 2. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Obi-Wan's it's probably my favorite show. It is my favorite Star Wars.
Sorry, Oreo.
Sorry. I know.
That series sucks.
Oh, okay.
All right.
You should really learn to open up and tell us how you really feel.
If you really want to know how I feel, we can do a whole special on that shit.
Next week on Jerry Springer. Oh wait, he's dead.
Well, see, there's an example. I mean, a Star Wars fan. I mean, I don't know.
It's all good. So, James, we're gonna let you finish your ranking.
Number 4 would be. Trying to think. I'm trying to go back. the Geddy Tartakovsky, The Clone Wars.
Yes, mentioned it briefly.
It's better as a movie.
Yeah, I think that was really good to watch. It set up a lot for Revenge of the Sith. Before when they did the Clone Wars, the series, and they did that last season with everything it was great to see that, because it was just something we wanted to know, the fill-in points between everything, and when they took it a step further with the Clone Wars, the animated series that was on what was it, Family?
Cartoon Network.
It wasn't on Cartoon Network. Yeah, it was on Cartoon
like 3 different things.
Yeah.
It kept getting canceled.
Cartoon Network, and then it went to Disney. And when Disney took it over, it was kind of like, okay, now we're going to see the real thing about what happened, and introduced a lot of great characters such as Hondo Okuda, our favorite Ricardo Montalban ripoff.
Yes, it's a total fantasy island.
Yeah. My native beer is made of rich Corinthian leather.
Greetings, my friends. Yeah.
So there's that. Number 3 for me would be, I'm gonna say, Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, cool.
Because it was instead of where Jedi was a happy ending, this was a dark ending, and it was lay the groundwork for Episode 4, which when I was a kid was just known as Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put A New Hope on the top, so that to me was, that's a dark movie to watch too, because and the great thing about it is when they kill all the Jedi, in some strange way, I think Lucas was kind of going back to The Godfather, where
it's a total Godfather edit.
Yeah. Kills the heads of the 4 of the 5 families, and you're just sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, he probably called Coppola and was like, listen, I got this idea. Revenge, don't sue me.
Lucas.
Don't sue me. Okay, I have this idea. And Coppola's probably going, yeah, okay, whatever, just do it.
I was waiting for the director's cut where they had a tauntaun in the guy's bed.
Yeah.
Hey, turnabout is
with a slow pan in, yeah.
I'm gonna climb into your bag now. See what
instead of blood, just like the mayonnaise and clear jelly and those weird tubes.
And I'll tell you something.
We're making Dawn of the Dead here. We need some gore.
Emperor Palpatine is not a man who takes decisions like this lightly. You shall hear from me later.
The fan cut for Revenge of the Sith is alright.
Yeah.
There's a fan edit?
There's a 4-hour.
What does it take out? All the whining?
No, it adds in stuff from the Clone Wars, the last season of Clone Wars. It adds in Clone Wars 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It puts stuff that's kind of fills it out more.
No, it's long as hell.
I can't remember if I told anyone this. I think I told Just this. I had a prick who I used to play action figures with next door, and he would spoil every.
You played with pricks, okay?
You're funny.
It's a weird phrasing, I have to admit.
I fucked up.
Let me play with too.
Rephrase, you shall. Okay, so I was hanging out with this one neighborhood pal, and what's funny is he'd be cool one minute and then douchey the next, and he had a habit of spoiling every other blockbuster movie for me, and I'm like, even if it's bad. Just very inconsiderate. If he hated it, he thought, no, you shall not see it. So he spoiled everything. Nature's Free, Chronicles of Riddick, every other blockbuster, and he's just like, oh, and they all die. I'm like, fuck you. And I got my revenge, so to speak, by spoiling the ending of Revenge of the Sith for him, because he was a mega Star Wars fan. Because I had gotten the Lego video game and the Revenge of the Sith video game from a friend.
That video game is so cool.
It came out before the movie came out.
Yeah.
So
was the ending of Revenge of the Sith Eastworld? So you know that one guy? He becomes Darth Vader, and the other guy's the Emperor. No shit.
No shit. And all the Jedi.
No shit, really? Christ, I didn't know that.
Everybody dies. No, what? Why?
I couldn't see the writing on the wall.
Hey, asshole! I saw Phantom Menace, and I was the guy yelling in the theater. That's the Emperor. That's the Emperor. That's the Emperor.
That's Sheev. Everyone knows Sheev.
I love how that was the last thing George held on to.
Yeah.
You'll never notice that it's the same actor credited for two different characters in the credits.
Oh, speaking of that, you remember National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you remember Vacation, right?
Yeah.
The tent salesman in the first one is Clark's boss in Christmas Vacation.
Oh.
I didn't realize that. I was like, holy shit, he just grew his hair out.
That's canonically?
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
Wasn't that a Murray brother?
Brian Doyle Murray.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Brian Doyle Murray. Cabin Boy.
Fun little background thing for those watching it on repeat on VHS.
And he started the movie with Kevin Bacon.
Oh, and ended with Friday the 13th.
Family Guy not Family Guy. Cabin Boy actually.
I love that movie.
Oh no, my favorite part is him and Caddyshack going, supposed to, Roy Johnson blew a blood vessel while playing trumpet this year, so the Judge Smale scholarship is up for grabs.
I don't know, but for me, it was his. It's Your Honor, Your Honor. At the very end.
Oh my God.
that you have to know a little bit about the golf terminology and stuff like that to really get the joke. But once I got it, it was like, oh God,
no.
That is brilliant.
The jokes. This is something I meant to bring up earlier, and this is not my original take. But I think it's Star Wars Minute.
What's your original take?
Well, I'm copying someone else's take. The best thing about the sequel movies, or whatever you want to call them, 1 through 3, that era, they're not that great, but they have the best memes. Like, unless you've seen them, you don't get. And the best, all the great memes come out of that. You know what I mean? There are so many amazing ones, and if you don't know the sand reference, that is so part of the sort of cultural lexicon of saying like, I hate sand. If you haven't seen that, you're never going to get it. It's almost important as like, may the force be with you, or any of those weird things. Like one of my favorite ones is, I saw a picture of, you see Obi-Wan. He's like, I saw a hologram of Anakin killing Yinglings. It's just him.
I remember that.
Oh my God.
My favorite is the shuttle, where he's saying like, look at the fucks, Anakin. Look at all the fucks I get.
I've seen that one. It's funny you guys brought up Caddyshack because they were totally using the Force in that movie. No.
Be the ball, Danny. Be the ball.
Be the ball.
That's right.
And the ancient philosopher Bausho said, "A flute without holes is not a flute, and yet a donut without holes is a Danish."
It's a Danish.
There's also a Simpsons where Homer's walking out of Empire and he goes, "Who'd believe that Darth was Luke's father?" And then everybody's in line going, "Oh, thanks a lot."
Oh my God.
That's in one of the episodes. I remember that.
I think that's in one of the ones where they're going to a convention.
Mark Hamill away from
yeah.
He's like, use the force.
And I think he's voicing himself. Yeah. Oh my God, that's great.
Oh, yeah, just stabbing nerds.
Number 2 to me is
Sorry, James.
New Hope. Well, no, let me rephrase it. I got this has been flip flopping all day in my head.
Like my dick it is. Okay, quiet down that.
Too much.
Empire Strikes Back is number 2 on my list. I know a lot of people put it as number 1. I have it as number 2 because to me it's the first real sequel that kind of topped the original. Because back in those days, the only sequel I think everybody knew that was better than the original, and this is before like Wrath of Khan and Superman 2 and all that, was Godfather. The Godfather 2, because Billy Jack, remember we had a show about Billy Jack.
I loved it. So much fun.
And they had like, the Shaft movies. And so the only good movie that topped the original back then was The Godfather, Godfather Part 2. Empire Strikes Back, everybody was expecting, what we saw in A New Hope. But I remember being 5 years old, being in the movie theater, watching that, going like, okay, Luke gets mauled by the Wampa. They all get separated. Luke goes to Dagobah. Han and Leia are falling in love while being chased by the Empire. There's this bunch of bounty hunters after him. One of them's a really good cool looking character called Boba
This
Fett.
is where it becomes Sergio Leone.
Yeah. And then
no name, but he doesn't talk.
and everybody's going, well, didn't we? Some people were going, didn't we see him in a holiday special? Shut up!
Shut up!
You didn't see that. We meet Yoda.
The holiday special you're looking for.
We meet Yoda, the diminutive Jedi Master, who is like, who's like, raises an X-wing out of the muck and the mud, and makes more sense about the Force. And then at the end, like they said in Clerks, it's just a series of down endings. What happens in the end? Gets frozen in carbonite. Luke gets his hand chopped off, and on top of that, his father's Darth Vader. Now,
and he sucked
in the
face
movie
with his
theater,
sister.
Yeah, and he has a little incest with his sister, which is kind of like
no, he did not.
So,
Incest is incest. Yes.
I tell this story to a lot of people. We were in the movie theater. We were in the Route 4 Cineplex Odeon in New Jersey, in Paramus, New Jersey, right? And my parents took me to go see Empire Strikes Back, and we're watching it. It gets to the point, and they're like, Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. He told me enough. He told me you killed him. He says, no, Luke, I am your father. Everybody in unison went, holy shit. Like a Mel Brooks movie, And we're
right?
I'm like, what? He's like,
no.
Yeah, no. And my mother and my father are going, Jay, are you okay? And I'm like, they're taking me out of the movie. I'm like this thing, the end, they're on the Rebel transport and they fly away. We're gonna see, we're gonna get Han and the bounty hunter, and I'm just sitting there going, I'm sitting there thinking in the back of my head, Darth Vader is Luke's father. What? The whole summer after even second grade, I'm there. I'm like second grade. I'm like, what? He can't. No. And then,
forget Rise of Skywalker. That ruined your childhood.
Oh, don't get me started. I love
you had to go there, Jamie.
Rise of Skywalker is a big fun popcorn movie, but for me, it just didn't cut the mustard. I'm sorry. I mean, I loved seeing, I loved seeing it. I loved seeing Luke come back from, as a Force ghost, but I wanted to see more. And I think the Colin Trevorrow script would have been better.
Yeah.
Before you got on, James, we had all agreed that that movie is a war crime and not a movie at all.
Yeah,
everyone agrees on this. No need to say that. J.J. Abrams was sitting there going, how can we make this interesting? Let's see. Anybody got a copy of Dark Empire I could borrow? Anybody? Yeah, I got one. Okay. Palpatine's not dead. He's a clone. Oh, that'll work. Yeah. Okay, give it to Disney and they'll say yes. Okay, fine. I don't, because they wanted to get the taste. They wanted to get all the, and I hate to use this term, fanboys. A lot of the fanboys were upset with Last Jedi, which I wasn't upset with. I liked it. I thought it was a good movie.
Definitely.
But, there were those who were bitching about it. And, there were those who were bitching about it and going, why do you have to kill off Luke? Why do you have to kill him off? And I'm like, dude, this is this is not about
speaking of
them.
The memes, I saw one that was like just the finals was written and directed by Reddit. And I was like,
yeah. But
it's the toxic hive mind narrative mentality of fanboys that ruins a franchise.
Yes, exactly. That's why
what's the one that's on Adult Swim?
Jamie, that goes back to your theory on it's about the movies. I'm starting to come around to that thought.
Well, what's the one by the creator of Community that's on Adult Swim? Rick and Morty. Perfect example
Dan
of
Harmon.
Fun cartoon, but ruined by the fanboys who are just wanting to be as shitty as Rick.
Yeah, I was going to say there was another problem there.
But he's played by an asshole. That's true. Yeah.
the thing that bothered me the most about Star Wars 9 was everybody comes to the rescue at the end. We just saw that in Endgame 6 months earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, everybody shows up at the end. Oh, here they all are to come to save the day. We had just seen that, It's like, are these Disney screenwriters all working together or something,
Just wait till they do Star Trek versus Star Wars.
Somebody has a video of like crowd reaction to the end of Endgame and the crowd reaction to the end of Last Jedi, and the crowd reaction to Endgame is like, yeah. The crowd reaction to Last Jedi is like, you just hear somebody go, okay, the Millennium Falcon showed up, now what? And I'm like, oh wait, there's Wedge. Oh, 2 seconds, shit. But in all honesty, I'll say this, I mean, it's a big dumb popcorn movie, but it just didn't capture the spirit of Star Wars for me in the end. And I think the one thing that got me was, at the end when she goes, I'm Rey Skywalker. I'm like,
and that one crowd reaction, I fucking hate Star Wars. Where the fuck go?
Why are you here?
I'll like
meme because we're doing it.
Who knows? Maybe 20 years from now they'll be all rehabilitated and the movies will look better, and then we'll look back in the long run and be like, oh yeah, okay, whatever, But
well, they're keeping Rey. I mean, there are going to be future movies with that character.
Yeah.
Hopefully they slow down the pace of releases.
Yeah, that's the one thing that killed it too for me.
This is the longest break we've gotten in a while.
Are they gonna explain more about that she's a Palpatine yet?
No, but that's what I was saying. She's Macho Man Randy City.
Okay. I knew it.
Comes on fucking screen.
There's only one Macho Man here. It's not her. It is me. Yeah.
Movies.
She had a cup of coffee with the Force.
Yeah. Cream rises to the
I'm doing visuals for the podcast now.
Oh god, that reminds me of Hogan's little
Where'd you get
that?
Yeah, Hogan sucks. I agree.
Oh yeah, no.
His interview back then, in the twilight of my career, even my kids turned me on. I'm like, what did you just say?
Yeah.
I'll just say this right now, like I don't watch professional wrestling as much as I used to because I kind of got bored of it. But I'll say this: if you guys know of the story behind CM Punk, how many times he's been the past 2-3 years, how he was brought into AEW, then he gets out of AEW, then he comes back to AEW, then he goes out, gets fired from AEW.
Did actually UFC for a while.
Yeah, and then he did UFC, and now he's back in the WWE, and you're just thinking to yourself, this guy is a fucking cancer. I'm sorry.
Right? He's like a player that no team wants. Yeah.
He's like
he goes against everything he's ever stood for by coming back to WWE.
His character, for the best I can describe him for anyone that doesn't watch wrestling, is he's kind of almost like a Deadpool character breaking the fourth wall, being sitting out literally in one of his favorite scenes.
He won't stick to the script.
Is him sitting down alone in a ring. That's the kind of shot that most people think of if they know CM Punk, is he's sitting there and explaining the workings. And so it really blurs the line between what's a shoot and what's real, right? Meaning what's real.
I know why you got fired.
But when you become so dramatic in your real life that a storyline that Vince writes seems less drama-filled than whoever said
that says a lot.
You're going to come back and ruin this company.
But if you're listening, CM, I love you. Please don't choke me out.
Don't choke us out. Don't choke us out, Jack.
Protect you, I shall.
He got fired this time.
I can come back from the dead and do something. It's a hard situation.
Oh my god.
Well, the reason Punk got fired from AEW this time was his backstage altercation with Jungle Boy, because Jungle Boy wanted to use real glass.
Oh my god.
And real fucking glass. And Punk said no, Tony Schiavone said no, and somebody else said no, and Jungle Boy didn't like that, and that's why Punk choked him in front of Tony Khan. That's why he got fired. Yeah, I mean, that's extreme as fuck, but damn, if somebody says no, and one of them's a vet, no, you don't do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because think about that. If he used real glass and he hits his back, and that glass goes in your back, you're with the medics for at least 2 hours getting your back picked of glass.
Yeah.
Death matches, man.
Yeah. For real.
Yeah. Death matches were like that, and but the thing I don't like is Jack Brooks going, "Hey Phil, look, real glass," and I was like,
"Yeah,
oh yeah."
Him
like when
fucking
they kicked
taunting
Mace
him.
Windu out the window in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Bring it back. Have you heard that Sam Jackson's like, I didn't see a body, so I survived Jurassic Park, and same deal with Star Wars. He's like,
one of my favorite fan theories.
Use the Force to cushion my fall. I'm good.
Yeah, one of my favorite fan theories is that he was Snoke. Obviously, before the movie's kind of finished, it's like, who's Snoke? And it's like, oh, it's Mace Windu. Like Force lightning famously sort of bleaches your skin. You got a huge cut from.
Oh my god!
And he is so sort of disillusioned with the whole
I
thing
prefer the
that he has become this outside.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I like the Jar Jar theory.
That's actually
I'll do you one better. I'm going to connect Star Wars and the Shaft series.
Oh my
Mace
god!
Windu.
Talking about Star Wars.
Yeah,
Shut
Mace
your
Windu.
mouth.
Shut your mouth.
Mace Windu. So what happens? Mace Windu goes out the window. He falls. Nobody sees the body. He stands up, puts on a pair of sunglasses, and walks off with the Shaft style slaying in the background.
Yeah. Every good hero needs his own theme.
There is good fan art of him coming back, though. I like that art.
Yeah, I've seen. Number one for me is A New Hope.
Number one?
Yeah, there was a number.
Oh my god, it's not Empire like everybody
Star
else.
Wars the motion picture. Actually, we picked Star Wars the motion picture.
Yes.
Yeah,
number one was over.
The original.
Episode 4.
As my old heads know, it was just called Star Wars. It was not.
Yeah,
New Hope.
Episode 4, New Hope.
The motion
Star
picture.
Wars. 2 years old. I'm in Ohio with my parents. It's a rainy day. My father says, "Hey, let's go see this movie called Star Wars." To my sister Anna and her husband Jack and me and my mom, and we all get in the car and we go. And for me, it was like,
Star Trek.
It was like, it's like for my mom, it was like seeing the Wizard of Oz when it went from black and white to color.
Oh wow!
For my dad, it was like watching Flash Gordon, the old Flash Gordon serials all over again. And also the movie Just Imagine when he was growing up. Yeah, my dad had me kind of late in life, so and then for me it was like the world, like my sister, A Hard Day's Night with the Beatles being on screen and Yellow Submarine and all that. For me it was this like explosion where my world went from like little safe area where I was going, I was remembering all the names of like the characters and stuff, and my parents got me the toys and everything like that. And for me, I was like into it, and that's why I still love Star Wars to this day. I'm not going to say I don't love Star Wars. I can say I don't like certain aspects of Star Wars, like the holiday special, the sequel trilogy, droids.
But Harvey Korman, James. Oh,
yeah.
Harvey Korman and B. Arthur in a Star Wars movie. And B. Arthur making herself out to be like a bartender at a third.
And she's actually part of the canon, according to like a book.
Yeah.
Oh God!
And, Chewbacca's father jerking it to what's her name?
Yeah,
Diane Carroll.
Yeah,
Carroll. Yeah.
And they're in no uncertain
Starship.
terms too.
Oh
They're
my
like,
God.
this will bring you ultimate pleasure, and they're like, leave him alone while he's finishing up, and it's like, oh,
I don't want to see a Wookiee jerking himself
too
off.
late.
I don't.
You saw it.
Wookiee wax.
There's that point you're sitting there, you're like, I don't want to see a Wookiee jerk. Oh wait, I just saw it. Oh Christ, I'm scarred for life.
For
most of you wondering, yes, Chewbacca's father jerks off in the show. We don't see it, but we know what's going on.
That's Rick
and Diane Carroll who played
underneath.
And now on to sports.
And of course, that were the blurb underneath on the TV. Right? They wrote a little quick sentence.
Then you hear Chewbacca's wife go, translation, why is this all sticky around here?
Lumpy.
Oh, and that fur. But, you think about all the things that Lucas is famous for sort of,
he wants to burn every single tape of that.
Two things that I've noticed. Yeah, furries. The whole idea of people in giant persons having sex.
Yeah.
He anticipated that. And also,
love where this is going.
Which is like 90% if you go into any of these adult film sort of sites, it's all about like family stuff for some weird perverted reason.
Well, so is Fast and Furious.
The son and the kid getting it on romantically,
family,
brother and sister. So he was actually
hey. Remember the series Taboo? Remember that? I remember that coming out, and my buddy's going, "Hey, you got to watch this movie. It's really good." Wait a minute, what's it about? Let's just say, if you can't keep it in the pants, keep it in the family. I'm like,
what?
Oh, God.
I remember Taboo. Tom Hardy pulled it off the air because nobody was watching it.
Still better than Rise of Skywalker.
Wait, what's it about Taboo? Wait, what did you say about Taboo?
Taboo was done by Tom Hardy, and he pulled it off of FX because, according to him, nobody was watching it, so he pulled it off the air. I'm like, I'm still fucking watching it. I want to know what happens. I like that series. That was really good.
We gotta do mind tricks on these network execs sometimes.
The first three are great, and then it just got to be like Taboo 25, and you're like, oh God, can you just please? It's like, stop now, please, stop now. But
I'm surprised they never crossed over Star Wars with Emmanuel.
No. Oh wait, no, they did Emmanuel in Space.
Oh well, they did do that. They actually just came out with a new one, believe it or not. So check that out.
So James, your 2-year-old memory, one of your first vivid memories.
2 years old, and you're seeing
Star Wars
people with British accents, and then casually forgetting them, and then exposition dump and explosions.
When I got older,
well, James, you just reminded me. When I was 2, I think the first thing I remember is John Glenn in space. So it shows Olam.
Oh my God!
That's one of my first vivid memories. So it's kind of cool that yours is Star Wars and mine was, mine was actually real space.
Seeing actual rockets take off.
Yeah.
Well, my dad.
That was a big deal.
My dad used to sit me down when I was younger, and we'd watch. Like he'd be like, "All right, come on, let's watch." I'm like 2-3 years old, and we'd be watching. He introduced me like the old Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe serials with the rocket that would just go up like with the and my dad would be like, who that guy is there? That's Buster Crabbe. He plays
he's Tarzan.
I'm like, Buster Crabbe? Buster Crabbe? Yeah, Buster Crabbe. He played Jungle Jim. He was also Buck Rogers. I'm like, oh, okay. And then like a couple years later, I'm watching Buck Rogers, and I hear there's one episode where like they have to have pilots fill in for them all being sick, and he's like Brigadier General Gordon, and I'm like, holy fuck, that's Buster Crabbe. And my dad was like, so my dad was like pretty cool with that, and he'd tell me like, oh yeah, Charles Middleton, who played Ming the Merciless and Flash Gordon, he was in Duck Soup if you watch it carefully.
Did he know some of the famous Disney voice actors in their rare live action roles by chance? Or?
Yeah, I know that whatchamacallit, the guy who played Winnie the Pooh was no, not Jim
Sounds
Cummings.
like me who does.
No, it was Sterling.
Different franchise.
Sterling Holloway was actually in Meet John Doe. He plays the guy who was he's the guy who helps Gary Cooper and the other guy. Like he's the guy who was in the donut shop, and he did a lot of Preston Sturges stuff when he was younger. He was also in a movie called Tony the Pony, where this kid wishes to be a horse, and it's one of the most fucked up things to watch.
It sounds Sterling
Holloway did a lot. Sterling Holloway did Peter and the Wolf. He was the narrator on Peter.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I love that.
But I remember I just remember seeing that and just being like totally mesmerized by it, because here I was 2 years old, and I was still processing stuff, but to see this big explosion of music and to see spaceships flying over you, and there's an aerial dogfight, and there are these guys called the Jedi, and there's swords made out of lasers,
and then Alien does a different approach, being Alien. It's quiet.
Alien. I saw when I was 6 or 7 years old. My parents let me watch it because they were pretty cool. They were like, Jay, it's just a guy in a suit.
You'll understand.
And they were, he'll understand.
Mommy, Alien.
I wanted the Alien action figure. It looked so cool.
Oh yeah, love that.
And they pulled it. they pulled it because kids were gonna have nightmares and shit.
Yeah.
And
I used to
like
play
they
with that
made Tracy figure too.
That one and the
yeah.
Godzilla figure. They were both really big. I used to play with those.
Oh, sweet.
You remember the alien figure?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it was made by Kenner, I think.
Yes, it was.
Oh, there you go. Cool coincidence.
And the great thing about it was they had the alien figure. I think they made the egg.
Did they?
I think. I
Did
don't
it
remember.
open up, or was
Yeah,
it
they
just kind of
did. I remember they did
like
make
kind
the
of
egg.
because Kenner didn't have a lot of articulation in their toys, but I could imagine a
No.
where it kind of opened up a little bit.
Well,
Yeah.
that alien figure was popular because it was so big and so detailed.
Did they have a
Yeah.
verse,
So scary
verse out
looking.
of somebody's chest?
No.
Sorry.
Oh, that would be it. Would be like like when the speeder bike blew up, you could like pull like a thing. I could see
so awesome.
I always wanted them to do like a version of Operation, but you just have to get the chest burster out before he swallows.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that would be fucking traumatic.
Yeah, instead of getting like the little shock, you would get like full on like shot right in the chest. Like you do it.
You get an acid burn.
Oh, we've already found a picture of it right here. Good for the podcast. Picture.
Hold on. Let's,
Yeah, still for sale. How much can you get it for on the eBay?
oh, it's a pretty penny, my friend.
Yeah, no doubt, 59. It looks like.
Yeah. In box, I think it was more. Out of the box, it's less. But yeah,
can
man.
you reach the Predator thing up there? Speaking of, I guess it's not aliens, but don't watch your head's on. We're just so we do the Predator minute, right? So, what?
Yep, minute by minute, and
yeah, there it is. You kind of see it.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug. But I was looking around for the different toys we have because we have an Aliens Lego figure. It's been
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean it's custom made, and then we got that drawing. We got poster there for
nice. You have an ugly motherfucker.
I want that Predator poster.
I've got a Puss in Boots that looks like Mark Twain.
I think we picked it up in Nashville. Maybe
I got.
If you live in Nashville, there's some movie store that's near their arcade in North Carolina. Pick up a bunch
I have the two versions of the Mego Shazam Captain Marvel that were done in re-release by Marty Abrams because he's started Mego up again. Oh, wow. And I wanted to get Captain Marvel, so I have the one with the designed cape, and I think I have the other one is like the old yellow cape with the yellow boots. And those were like the first toys my grandmother got me when I was a kid because she loved comic books and she knew I loved Batman and Robin and all that stuff. I had like a whole bunch of stuff. Unfortunately, we got squirrels in our attic one year and there's like squirrel poop on them and I can't really get them. So I'm going to start collecting them again when I get the chance,
You're talking Shazam Captain Marvel, right?
Yeah. The greatest one. Yeah. Shazam. Yeah.
It would take me a couple hours to go around and show all of my collectibles. So.
Be careful, my friend. If you get into action figures, it's an addiction.
Oh yeah, Hunter Thompson Lego right there.
Considering I got a whole bunch of DC Universe characters up in my bedroom. Yeah.
I was an army builder, and
you're in the army now. Sport.
What?
Oh boy,
you're in the army now. Sport.
Yeah, there you go. But those figures were just so expensive, and the Black Series figures. What a waste! I'm sorry. They're great, but I mean, some of the figures are like $60, $70, $80.
Yeah, because they're the more popular ones that are exclusive to cons and stores.
The Sith Stormtroopers, the red ones, were like $60 a piece, but I just had to have like 4 or 5 of them. Oh God!
Just a question for you: red wire or blue wire? Which do you cut?
Cut the blue wire.
Okay, perfect.
Cut the blue wire.
Perfect.
Okay. Cut the green wire.
A trick is played on you. All right, so
James, I got all my toys on my YouTube channel.
James is now a member of the Jedi Council. So
I am now a member of the.
How do you do, Master Yoda? Love him, I do. Want his autograph, shall I?
Wait, I wanted to say this for a long time. Anakin, it's a trap.
There's trappages.
I had my friend, my freshman year of high school. I had my friend cracking up because my freshman year of high school, we're going down to the assembly and says, "Okay, children, we're all going down. Okay, guys, we're all going down to the assembly, and it's the first day of school." I just yelled, "It's a trap!" And just fell on the floor laughing.
Right.
And I said,
it was.
I fell on the floor laughing. He said, "Dude, that's like the best Admiral Akbar I've ever heard. How the hell can you just come up with a random character like that?" I'm like, I don't know. I just said it,
It's just only performed by a Jim Henson guy.
You see,
Tim Rose.
The riff.
Yeah, the Asterios Kokonos that used to be on Mad TV also does a lot.
Oh my god!
He has a series that's Admiral Akbar's. It's just a whole bunch of things. My favorite one is Admiral Akbar's Snack Bar. Names all the different things.
I think I did vaguely see that. There was definitely
Admiral
a robot.
Akbar's Acting Academy with the.
There was a robot chicken spoof on it. I think where he's starting a restaurant and he's wearing only a G-string and it's just weird. It's just wild.
Yeah, I'd recommend just go to YouTube, the Asterios, and then I just do Admiral Akbar's Snack Bar. It's amazing.
I still think he's
one at a time. Okay, James, go ahead.
I still think Admiral Akbar is one of the coolest characters in Return of the Jedi because I remember seeing him and I was like thinking to myself, okay, what does this guy do? And like you read up later, he's like this, like he was like an Imperial, he was like a strategist for the Empire, and then he was a slave. I think he was a slave.
I think so. Yeah.
It turned on the Empire.
Calamari. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great name.
Basically builds the Mon Calamari shipyards, which are like these giant fucking. They're like
and he doesn't look like a squid. He just looks like a fish.
He looks like a crawdad with like bad eyes, and then the other one. And then you find out they are like there's like two species on Mon Camal. There's the Mon Camal. There's the Admiral Akbars, which are the aqua. I think they're called the aqua, and then there's the squid face. The squid face ones.
I think that isn't that the city that the Kid Fisto guy saves in the comics as well as the Clone Wars cartoon? Okay.
Yep.
But I remember
because Mando gets mad at them. He's like, freaking cool. It's going to decorate his ship.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And he's like, "What did you do? This is wrong. This is wrong."
The thing I love the most is like he goes, "You'll see the shield generators powered from here, and we will find." I'm like, I was watching
doing
South
his
Park.
Best General Patton. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like this, and then you watch South Park and like the movie, and then they do the part where they say Operation Kill the Darkies, and I'm like, they're fucking making fun of Admiral.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. The way they're echoing the voice, yeah. And didn't they even use some walkers and everything? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so yeah, Tommy boy.
Yeah.
Tommy boy.
A bunch of us were loving Return of the Jedi, but I did not like that they killed him, Admiral Akbar, off screen. As much as I love, Last Jedi.
As much as
I love that movie, killing Admiral Akbar off screen pains me. I understand why Ryan Johnson did it, because he was basically saying, like, out with the old, in with the new. That stuff doesn't matter. Forget about the nostalgia, which is a good lesson, but it's fine when it's characters I don't like.
And I think the guy died in real life, the guy who was doing the voice and everything.
Really?
I think he died.
Yeah, most of them are dead now. Shit.
Yeah.
Well, Harrison Ford's career is still alive. Oh.
Hey-o.
He's actually really hysterical on Shrinking. Oh my god. But we've already had that chat. So Tom, we're gonna let you rank whatever you want in the Star Wars saga. Because
I'm gonna go a little multimedia on this because Star Wars goes beyond the film.
Rule breaking he is. Love it, I do.
I will break the rules because damn it, I'm that kind of guy. I'm even gonna break the rules one more time and throw in an honorable mention. My honorable mention is Hardware Wars.
Yes.
Yeah, we love it.
Hardware
Wars. It was
in
my ranking. It was in our ranking.
Yes, it was.
It came up around 10th, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, Hardware Wars was a perfect homage to Star Wars, and it predates Spaceballs, which we compare and contrast the two. Spaceballs had the bigger budget, but I want to say
it had more
Hardware
stones
Wars
too.
had the bigger heart.
Yeah, I would agree, Tom. I think Hardware Wars came in a place of love. I think Mel Brooks, and I love him, one of my favorite movies, Blazing Saddles. But he was basically doing a pastiche of a lot of different things, of just sci-fi in general. It was just like, the concept, the merchandising, it's like,
I love that part. Spaceballs, the t-shirt.
It's not actually
Spaceballs, the flamethrower.
The kids love that.
The kids are gonna love this one.
Spaceballs, the Blu-ray. Oh wait.
There's also the animated series too.
Guys, I just want you to know, Tom and everybody else, I'm friends with Princess Annie Droid on Facebook.
Nice.
I don't know who that is.
And let me just say, she hasn't aged one day. Because I'm friends with someone who's a friend of hers, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, I know her. And I was like, oh shit, wait, let me friend her. I friended her. And she's like a really nice person in real life. And I remember seeing that, and I was thinking, she's hotter than... I remember seeing Hardware Wars, Tom, and I remember seeing her pop up, and I'm like, dude, she's hotter than Carrie Fisher. And I'm like,
That's
my little
take yet.
Yeah, I mean,
quite literally.
To Paul on Star Trek. Anyway, go ahead.
But yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
Annie Droid.
Coming in at number 5, Revenge of the Sith.
Getting a lot of love today.
More than the entire prequels. I love it.
There are a couple of reasons why. First of all, out of the 3 prequels, that one was the least drizzling shit. But I will also say that it was the movie that got me back into Star Wars just long enough to realize that J.J. Abrams fucked it over.
Thank you.
Activate.
No, here's the thing. I was sitting there watching The Force Awakens and saying, I'm seeing some similarities here, and all of a sudden it's like, motherfucker, he did it again. Remember Star Trek Into Darkness?
Yeah.
What movie does that remind you of? Star Trek Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
So when I saw The Force Awakens, it's like J.J. Abrams, he's doing some things. It's like, oh my God, this is A New Hope all over again. And after that point, I threw my hands up in disgust because you know what? I don't care anymore. I'm done. I'm out. You guys can go have fun with your Star Wars stuff, and I'll be over here enjoying the real Star Wars
Play
stuff.
with your
stuff that doesn't involve midichlorians.
Oh God! Play with your swords.
Yeah, but out of the prequels, that for me, Revenge of the Sith was the very best, and on its own, it is far better than people want to give it credit for. I thoroughly enjoy it. Outside of the episodes 4, 5, and 6, I made sure to get episode 3 because that creates a nice little bookmark, bookends to the entire saga of Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll say this too about it. What you see in between, what you've seen in between 3 and 4, with Andor and Rogue One and Obi-Wan and Rebels, becoming more popular now. We're getting more fleshed out, and I think the thing with Revenge of the Sith was when it came out, everybody was like seeing. If you had the storybook of Return of the Jedi when you were a kid, there's a part where Ben Kenobi was talking about how Vader, him and Anakin had a fight by a volcano or something like that, and they had to they had to go back and be like, okay, he mentions this in the book, he mentions this in the storybook. We got to show them what happened, and that's the thing. The epic of Darth Vader becoming Darth Vader at the end when he's put into the suit, and then you see the mask.
Emperor is almost like a male version of a Lady Macbeth in a way.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And by the way, Jeff, is the Force strong with your cats? They seem to be approving of our conversation.
Yeah, Kirby is. He's doing all right.
Even better name, Jack Kirby.
Yeah, he was. I guess I did name him that because when I got him, I had a cat named Stanley, and so I named him Kirby so they could be Stanley and Kirby.
Wonderful.
And then 5 years later, they separated, and Jack Kirby was pissed off.
But no, good point. Yeah, just Lucas is taking all his deleted scenes and actually using the ones that were that. Very good point, James.
So we had, that's the thing about it. And Tom, you hit the nail on the head. It was the saga of Darth Vader.
What we had wanted to see. Yeah.
What we had wanted to see.
Why did this guy become a paralyzed, near invincible warrior with, morbid ambition and just, frightening voice,
And old Wheezy.
Okay. All right.
What about next up? It's the story of C-3PO and R2-D2.
That's who it starts and ends with.
Yep.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess at one point, because JJ's such a fucking idiot, he couldn't handle the simplest task. It was supposed to end. The last one was supposed to end on the first line of the first movie, and it was actually when you see it at the end, it does at least end with the droids. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember what the first line is supposed to be, but that was supposed to be it. It's like look over or look, something R2.
I thought he was gonna be like Mission Impossible 3, where he introduces the rabbit's foot, which has nothing to do with it's inconsequential to the rest of the plot. Okay,
hey, let me get 6 more of my friends to come in here and say dumbass lines. So JJ, great guy.
something like they're the only constant characters that are in all 9 movies, which true.
And truly, they do start it, and they are kind of the audience standard.
R2 is like Kenny from South Park. You can blow him up, but he'll just come back. And 3PO's, I'll call him the Harold Lloyd. He's just going around.
He's Dr. Smith in an android outfit.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Very much so.
He somehow he should not be alive, but just like Jonathan Harris, he is a Brit, and he's just going around.
I do like
Jonathan Harris isn't British.
R2 talks.
I thought he was.
No, he's from Brooklyn.
What?
He's from Brooklyn. He learned how to refine his accent through acting lessons.
Jonathan Harris,
Tony.
I was comparing him to Anthony Daniels, who played 3PO. Tony, yeah. No, I would love to see a 3PO version, but done Soprano style. Yeah, Tony.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. I got you.
Hey,
I'm worrying, okay?
Hey, Arthur. Arthur. All the lightning bolts, they didn't. All those blaster bolts, they didn't fucking hit us. All right?
It was soldiers.
What the fuck you don't get it? You're gonna get an escape pod? You fucking funds and don't get in there, all right?
Oh my god.
And they go to the strip known as the Bantha Boom.
Hey, the damage doesn't look as bad as Phil Leotardo's head. You know what I mean? That's a good one.
Oh, Phil Leotardo, get the fuck out of here.
All right.
Stick up your ass. All right, Tom.
Number 4.
Before Tony hijacks our meeting.
Sorry.
Number 4. The Star Wars comic books from Marvel from the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
Those did more to flesh out the Star Wars universe as we know it, more than anybody else could. The people who worked on it, the writers, the artists, the whole, they had a direct line to George Lucas, or they had his blessing to create some of the best bits of tension too. I mean, they had some weird characters like the giant green rabbit, which I could take her leave, but there was one before I stopped collecting it. There was one issue where Luke was falling in love with somebody, and they were rebel pilots, and they were in TIE fighters, so they could disguise themselves. And for some reason, Luke's ability to see who was in what TIE fighter, the scanners went out or whatever, so he had to use the Force. And he used the Force to kill the woman that he was falling in love with.
Well, now you're making me wish.
Shit.
You're making me wish they would rescore this with Jefferson Starship's White Rabbit.
But that was such a shock, and I didn't get to see much more after that. But after that, there was an entire issue where Luke was having to deal with the aftermath of that. And when I was like 11 or 12, that was heavy shit. That was because we were told because I grew up with Luke Skywalker being the guy who always does the right thing, the ultimate hero, and then
the Jesus of the team.
Yeah, but then he does something like this, and only because he saw that she was evil, she was actually the spy for the Empire. It turns out, but he didn't know that until much later.
Yeah, Mary Jane and company playing for a fool.
Yeah, the whole, but the series, the comic series, fantastic. I can't recommend it enough for any Star Wars fan.
Yeah, you can thank Archie Goodwin for the first couple of issues that they did.
That Shadows of the Empire, all the
yes, he was the guy who did started the Marvel series out in 77, 78.
Yeah,
and when they started doing that, they started to bring in more characters. Like you said, there were some characters I loved, like there was Rick Oley, who was the
Rick Oley, Captain Obvious.
Yeah, who was like the stand-in for Han Solo, and his purple skinned female pilot Danny, who had the hots for Luke, and
damn.
Yeah, there was a lot of characters in those books, Tom, that should have been brought to the table if they were to do it. If they were going to do another series.
Well, instead they brought the cloned Emperor plot, but they didn't execute it.
Yeah.
But the thing was with those Marvel issues, I have like a whole bunch of them that I saved, and there's one issue that was really good, was where they were trying to find Wedge. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Wedge, instead of going off and being with the Rebel fleet, they wrote it where Wedge and Wes Jansen were shot down, and Wes got slaughtered by a Wampa. And what happened was, they did this whole thing, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get the gist of this. I have it. It's a picture of Wedge with like Wampa claws coming after him. He has a blaster, and he's like scared shitless.
In Star Wars Tales, or
no, this was an actual comic book, like 83, 84, because I remember
it was more
the back had Tom in the video game.
Did Luke use Force Heal on him?
No, what the funny thing is, they find an abandoned freighter, him, Princess Leia, and some other guy, and they find this abandoned freighter, and they're looking through the logbook what Wedge had recorded, and they think Wedge is dead, and he's actually outside, waiting for them and stuff like that. It's a really good thing to watch, to read, because I was like engrossed in it. I was like, first time they kind of shift off the main characters for Wedge,
Lovely.
I will. It's funny you mentioned Jefferson Starship earlier, Cam.
Because they were in the holiday special, yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And that single of theirs actually got premiered. But that was part of why they changed their name.
But I guess it wasn't. I only just recently found this out. I always thought they changed their name to Jefferson Starship so they could be in a Christmas special, but I guess they changed it.
They changed it like 74, 75 because 72, 73 because Jorma Kaukonen and Jack Cassidy had left the band, and they brought in Greg Chicano, and some other bass. But I think Pete Sears took over on bass, and they said, "All right, since we're going in the future, Starship is dead. Airplane's dead. Let's call ourselves Starship."
Well, that's a good impression of Grace Slick.
Yeah, you should hear me when I do Grace Slick drunk in Germany. Oh boy!
Oh my god! Yeah, he's had a
Who won the war? Who won the war?
He's got some infamous interviews. Yeah,
I like B. Arthur's song better than the Starship song, though.
Oh, very good. Fair enough.
I do like that we have some older people, because it does remind me of one of the cool things about Star Wars fandom, and truly older series fandom.
Yeah, you only watch
Star Wars especially is that these sort of rumors stuck around because we had no internet, right?
Right.
So everyone was like, oh no, this guy is, this person. It's in some weird obscure text that you'd have to find, and no one. Okay, I believe you then. We had just no material. It's now, we were joking earlier about like, stop giving us stuff. Well, everyone remembers the dark years when we just had nothing. We're just going through the Timothy Zahn over and over and over again.
It almost makes you wonder, what would Star Wars have been like? And let me know what you think of this, Jeff. If they had pulled a Friday the 13th, where they would have just done a bunch of them, and they would have exceeded Police Academy by now, where do you think they'd be now?
Didn't they?
I know, but let's say they did it back in the day. Let's say if that was every 2 years in the 80s, what would it look like?
I think it's look a little something like this.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
I agree.
One of the things, and this is one thing that like, to a certain extent, the reason why I like stuff like Mandalorian and stuff like that is that it gets away from like the Skywalker stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like
no daddy issues.
It's just like the whole concept of like, oh, everything's got to be Skywalkers, and then of course Rey is a Palpatine. Oh my God. It's like, it turns into something where it's like, oh, I guess only some people can have these powers, huh? And it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I would like to think that the future of Star Wars is to not be constantly bringing back all the old characters, and maybe they should have just kept cranking them out, and then that way we could have eventually have gotten away, we could have eventually gotten away from
Imagine if Ron Howard actually had done the prequels like originally asked.
Yeah,
there'd be good acting.
It's a bit like Bruce Wayne's parents were killed.
Yeah.
It is.
Every Batman movie, we know the story. It's like Romeo and Juliet. I want to know all the side characters of the Capulets, like the other brothers who instigate, instead of Romeo, would you please bang me? Oh.
Like Jeff, the one thing I liked about Boba Fett, the series, was that, and the Mandalorian, was that it fleshed out a lot of people that we thought were like, not good people, like the Sand People. We found out.
Oh, I don't think we
yes,
that.
Perfect. Yes.
Native Tatooiners, please.
Yeah, native
Tatooine lives matter. Yeah,
are like the American Indians, and if you watch it, there are points where the Mandalorian is using like sign language and stuff, and I'm going, oh my God, this is what we remember. If you read your history, they use sign language to communicate with us, and we get a more deal about their plight, why they are the way they are,
why they're insecure and attack without
and then we see the Karat dragon for the first time.
That was very neat. And Timothy Oliphant in Justified form again. I mean, come on. I'd listen to that guy read the phone book.
The one part I loved at the end of Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett, he's walking along the street and he grabs the orange, and I'm thinking, oh God, please don't let it be like Don Corleone and Fredo's in the corner trying to grab the gun.
You were my brother, yeah.
I do think it was more. I think people talk about Filoni, who at the time we were recording this.
Oh, really?
Filoni was just like last week they said he was.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Filoni, so, he got a career boost.
Because I don't know when this.
Thank God.
And a lot of people describe the new shows as him sort of smashing his toys together as a kid, and but I've got no problem with that. People say that as a negative. I'm with you.
I saw an editorial about that.
He said same.
Yeah. And it was like
the Skywalkers. I get it. It's like I don't want to hear about the Royals anymore. I want to hear about the Peaky Blinders. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Peaky Blinders. But to your point, to your point, I mean, I saw an editorial saying the Mandalorian writers' room needs more writers, and I was like, that's bullshit. Look at J. Michael Straczynski. He wrote 90% of Babylon 5.
Yeah,
you can be a one-man show.
Yeah, I mean that's you talk about like, he's just smashing his toys together. Well, yeah, he's got to take things that are recognizable to us to
David E. Kelly writes most of the first 2 seasons of every show before he leaves.
Yeah, I mean, but like
as a writer, more writers is always good.
I know,
but the concept
but this editorial was acting like it couldn't be done. I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah. No, the whole concept of like, smashing the toys, you got to take those things that are recognizable to build the foundation to do something different and new. Right. So it's like, I'm kind of somewhat hopeful that by, like what the Acolyte is the next one that's coming in.
Skeleton Crew.
James Mangold's prequel. Yeah.
So all of that stuff that comes along hopefully is separated enough, but it's like, well, we feel confident with the direction that things are going to give it a chance. It's and that is one of the biggest problems with the sequel trilogy is that there was no plan. It's like some of that stuff was fine, but like they don't feel like three connected movies. They feel like three different ideas.
Oh.
That is such a shame. What a drop. That is like the definition of dropping a ball. I mean, that was like one of the most anticipated and essential like stories, like the end of a story, like in history.
Outline.
Pretty much. Well, yeah. And I can't believe of all the things a writer could have fucked up in the creative world, this is what they fucked up.
And I'm just tired of just fans being divided. Like, I can't talk to you like this era. I'm like, well, what the hell?
I'm tired of fucking OT reliance altogether. It's like you can do Star Wars without being the originals, and people don't want to hear that because that happened with Zack Snyder recently. He had his Star Wars shit laid out.
I'm looking forward to that. Look at the poster of that gives me a Dune aura almost. I'm like, Steve, but it's just the essence of sci-fi fantasy. Just have people on the planet trying to survive with one of them has magic and the other is trying to learn how to be the chosen one. It's a fun narrative.
But I don't know. That's what I mean. It's the same story now, pretty much with every movie. But I mean, it depends now on how it's told. It's the same old story, but what makes it good is how they tell the same old story.
Yes.
Well, getting back to Tom's thing about the Marvel comic books, Tom, like you said, it was more fleshed out line of comics, not like Dark Horse. This was more, up to our speed.
Dark. Yeah, and it was far more creative than any Star Wars comic books I've seen since.
I think you're right. I think that is the era that has pretty much actually sustained. Like both Dark Horse was one thing where it was kind of like a pulp novels, and these new ones have kind of just been kind of side scrolls, side quests.
Well, there's the one now where Luke got the yellow lightsaber, which explains a lot of things.
How Ahsoka gets it.
Yeah. So,
nice.
What was the next? Tom, you had something else you were gonna pull up on there.
Yep. Number 3.
Finish him.
Number 3.
Finish him yourself.
This is a big entry, but to me it was hard to pick just one. I mean, I kept going over and over it, but Star Wars video games.
Oh yeah,
all of them. Pretty much all of them. They had.
It's one of the few franchises that has not phoned it in because I mean, Lucasfilm is working in the games department, and when you see how it got disbanded,
ones were good.
Yeah,
yeah. I'll tell you, it touches on just about every genre you can think of, from the vector graphics of the very first Star Wars game, where you had stand up.
Dark Forces was kind of like Doom.
Got into the booth and did it.
Well, no,
my father would play a lot of those CD games back in the day. I think my uncle played X-Wing or TIE Fighter, but
TIE Fighter,
yes,
absolutely. Dark Forces was mainly like Doom and Prince of Persia, kind of just go in a maze and there's a death trap.
James, were you the one mentioning the vector graphics one?
Tom was.
Okay, yes. Sorry.
So, even worse, shameless plug. I own an arcade bar, retro arcade bar in the Tampa area, and that particular video game, the original Star Wars vector graphics one, is considered the holy grail of all arcade games.
Oh, yes.
Really?
I played it.
Yeah,
impossible to get. There are versions where people MAME it, emulate it, and put it up. But if you want an original cabinet, the kind of thing it comes in with all the original hardware, and most importantly, the controller, the yoke. That's surprising enough. Like Tron, for instance, it's very hard to get an original controller. That's what breaks, not the electronics. We can replace those any day. You cannot replace those parts. And that machine is something that me and my partner have been trying to get a hold of, but right now they're around $15,000 if you can.
Even on eBay, it's impossible.
Not 1,500.
But anyway,
$15,000.
1,500.
I went to
right.
The yoke.
There's a place there's a place called Barcade by where I live, where my friend Humphrey lives in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, that's the other
one. We went there, and they had the Activision one with the 3 levels you could play.
Oh sweet, the entire original trilogy. Nice.
Then we went to one in Newark, and my friend Humphrey's like, dude, you got to come here and take a look at this. So it's the actual sit down one it was the sit-in booth of Star Wars, where you could blow up the TIE fighters and shit, and then you flew through the maze. Yeah. And I was, you did the trench run.
Will be with you always.
Yeah,
that's great.
And I remember that, but I loved the stuff like they had an RTS game called Galactic Battlegrounds, where you could, it was done in the early 2000s. You could play the Grand Republic of the Grand Army of the Republic,
the Wookiees, the Trade Federation, Gungans,
the Trade Federation, the Gundams, the Techno Union, I think it was. You could play the Empire, and you could play the Rebel Alliance. So what you do is you would have all these other these factions fight each other. And I'm still trying to look for a copy that I could play. Maybe I might have to Steam it or something like that. I don't know, but I used to love playing it when you could play it and you could have I would think, okay, how am I going to do this? Oh yeah, I'll just do what you didn't and forgive me for saying this, but they did in Desert Storm. Just fly over, bomb the shit out of them, come back around again.
You are playing God with their lives. Yeah.
I'll do the Schwarzkopf thing. I'll have all my troops on one side, and then I'll just fly the X-Wings and the wide wings over and have them come around, fly sorties, get them fixed, come out and around again. It was just fun to do. I love that game. And then I love the what was the one with on PS2 you could play, the Clone Wars?
I mean, that was a fun actioner. There was a Bounty Hunter video game, which Industrial Light and Magic did all the realistic graphics, and it was like.
Then there was the one Pod Racer.
Pod Racers, Jedi Power Battles.
The original Battlefronts or
Battlefront. Absolutely. We were talking about this.
Rogue Squadron was great. Rogue Squadron
was one of my favorites.
And they do reuse the 70s disco theme to start it off.
Sure, and then why not?
There were the Super Nintendo platformers that, especially the Japanese versions of
Super Star Wars, Super Empire, and Super Jedi.
The follow-ups to Dark Forces, Jedi Knight and Jedi Academy, those were fun. I would enter a bunch of cheat codes and make R2-D2 explode and everything. One time, I kid you not, I crashed my entire computer, much to my dad's anger, because I spawned a Rancor. And it interacted with the cinematic as it was playing and ate the Sith Lords on screen, and that crashed the whole thing. And
that's canon now.
Right, there you go. Now it's canon. But it was cool. You could hijack speed racers while saving Londo from pirates and fighting alongside Chewbacca, and just epic graphics. It was great.
They're re-releasing Dark Forces
really
this year. Yeah,
interesting.
I say this year.
Nice. I love
big releases. There's another one called Star Wars Outlaws.
But think of this, Tom. How about you take Dash Rendar from Shadows of the Empire and you do a space buddy cop smuggling movie with Kyle Katarn?
Oh yeah.
The lethal weapon in space.
You're gonna need a Gungan in there. You know what I mean?
No, just a Wookiee. Oh my God! This is not Judge Dredd.
Can I just say this right now? Dash Rendar is the most underappreciated character in the history of Star Wars, no matter which way you look at it.
He's just trying to sell some death sticks.
For that matter, what's it do with the spice? They don't bring it up my spice.
I agree. He's a pretty laid back dude. He's like Han Solo. He's like the alter ego. He's like he could go right now, but he even feels more loyalty since these guys have helped nursed him back to health.
But there's one thing I got to say. The one game I remember I got first thing I got thrown out of Best Buy for playing Rogue Squadron 2 too much when I was there one time.
What did you do?
I was in Best Buy. They had the old Nintendo Cube set up, right?
Nice.
So you could play Rogue Squadron 2, right? So I'm playing it, and this kid's like going, "I want to play that," and I'm like, I'm playing this. He's like, "I want to play that," and he's putting up a big fuss, and the guy goes, "Sir, either you let him play or we tell you to leave." And I'm like, "I've been playing this for like 10 minutes." I've been playing this thing for 10 minutes, and I look up, and it was an hour.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shit."
Is this kid your nephew, Mr. Store Owner? Or what's going on?
No, this kid's a little prick.
Yeah. So just so you know, James played first.
Yeah, James played first. Yeah,
and then how dare he?
and then I remember going to Toys R Us and playing of all
they're
things.
Coming back.
Jedi Starfighter.
Great game. Oh
yes,
man,
that's an underrated classic right there.
They even made comic books featuring those same characters, Nim and company. But my brother and I, we would go to a friend's house and play the Nintendo 64, but we would also play the PC-ROM version, and it was so cool when you blew stuff up. You had the Panaka guy shouting at you saying, "Get over here, Naboo boy!" But it felt so much fun just hijacking and blowing up tanks.
I do like the modern. I haven't played Jedi Survivor, but Fallen Order. Is that right? Did I have this in the right order?
Fallen Order
of the new EA.
Fallen Order is the new one. Yeah.
Who did you? EA game.
No, Fallen Order was the first one. Survivor's the new one.
Yeah, Survivor's coming out soon.
Yeah.
So they're really awesome. They're kind of shameless Dead Soul, knockoffs, but they're really good. And the acting. The only thing that throws me off is this dude from Shameless. And so I can only see him being like a weird, freaky pervert.
That guy. Yeah,
and
that's right. He is in that.
I mean, he's a great actor, and they're bringing it is canon, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So they reference like him and a few other things. He's starting to kind of be brought in. And I think they will eventually use him. Because he's
and they brought in Sam Whitmer or whatever.
Yeah, from Starkiller.
For Battlefront 2.
And Darth Maul,
and the newer one, and that was just an engaging story. I loved it. But like I was saying, you can find about everything, even from the Atari 2600 days. You could find games that would throw you back. But as each game builds on the other, and as technology goes, the mythos, everything becomes interconnected, and it shows that you're making an advancement over what you had before. I'm still a big fan of Star Wars Squadrons. That took me back to the days of the Rogue Squadron, and X-Wing, and TIE Fighter, and the Squadrons is fun. The Battlefront games, are
great
fun.
Party
the
games.
Newer ones too the newer ones are great. The old ones are great too. And Fallen Order, I initially hated it, but then I gave it another try, and it's like I got immersed in the story, and that in of itself shows just the power of it. And I want to see where it goes next, because
who did you guys in Jedi Power Battles? Who did you guys often play as?
Which is generally considered Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, it's all good.
And I somehow it missed me, even though I'm just as old as most of the people here.
It's all good. There's no pressure here. We're not being the Nazi Star Wars trolls. We're just actually having fun here. But
I know.
but Jedi Power Battles was fun because you could play as the various Jedi Order guys. Fight droideka, hijack tanks, and Mace Windu had a blue lightsaber because this is before they finalized it. But it was just
you could play Plo Koon, Adi Gallia, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Think of it as an alternate side scroll of Phantom Menace. Like let's say these guys fucked up the Trade Federation that opening act.
I want to play as the horse pilot From,
the horse pilot. I want to play as Darth Maul
or something like that.
But
the
then
rabbit
become a Jedi.
Someone mentioned earlier.
Oh, the rabbit one. Oh god.
The rabbit, a horse pilot. There's a horse pilot.
What about Yaddle? Yoda's girlfriend.
She's finally getting. We don't
love
know.
her. I do. Great sex we had.
Only
okay. Keep it down. Keep it down.
Yeah, only female one there is.
The only
and
female
Luke with like 6 U's. That was the clone of Luke made from his severed hand.
And
oh god, I remember that.
Oh my god.
This is all true. Look it up. I mean, not true. It's legends now.
Luke Skywalker has nards, man. So what race is Yoda? Because George Lucas has always been asked this, and he says he's a frog, which we know is bullshit.
No, I would say he's part. They said at one point he was part of a race called the Wills, which is
that's right. Yes.
The journey of.
I saw that
which
on
is kind of like a journal of when they say the journal of the Wills. I think his race are Yoda's race, his civilization are very in tune with the Force, and they are known as the Wills. So they're basically like, let's say, the Night Sisters, but they're the totally different side of what they are. So Yoda and his civilization are kind of like, carriers of the light side of the Force. If you notice, Yoda is very in tune to the Force. He does make them. What?
I have noticed that he seems to be about this whole Force thing.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I think he's pretty good at it.
I couldn't tell.
think he's pretty good.
I was gone for a minute. Anybody bring up Angry Birds Star Wars?
There's an Angry Birds Star Wars? What?
Yes.
It was on Angry Birds and then
Yes.
it moved to PlayStation or something.
Oh, what's
Yes.
that?
They didn't Angry Birds Star Wars.
I remember playing it. It wasn't very good.
Although it did have
like
gravity, which was kind of a fun effect.
But Gil, here's a funny thing. They had Ian McDermott played the voice of the Emperor Bird.
What?
And he talked about when they were filming Return of the Jedi, and when the chair swivels around, well, they couldn't stop it. So if you see him, he's stopping the chair, but his feet are like trying to stop it, before it goes any farther.
So my biggest problem with Angry Birds, is that within the
birds,
lore,
man.
Yes, is that it's Angry Birds.
Oh my god!
But within the lore of the game, all of the little pigs are wearing little Imperial helmets. But it's fucking called Angry Birds.
Oh, because get it? They're
Angry
pigs.
Birds.
Imperial
Anger.
pigs.
They should be the bad guys. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate.
Anger leads to hate.
Hate to your anger.
Suffering.
They're literally called Angry Birds. They're the bad guys. They should be wearing little Imperial helmets. Every time you knock over the pigs, it should be the Emperor going, good.
You realize it's fiction, right?
I guess, man. I don't know.
Some people get so hooked up on fucking fiction they can't separate it from reality.
Angry Birds is reality. You shut it.
What's the best Star Wars themed convention you've been to? I know some of those 501st guys were real snobs because they were like, you got to have actual armor ordered from the UK, and I'm like, no.
Jesus.
So
we're gonna make it how we
ruins
make
the
it.
fun. Totally ruins the fun.
A
Some of
friend
them
of
are
mine,
total
501st,
snobs.
and I'm sure there are. I mean, there's dicks. I mean, I think we've all established together.
Your Schwartz is as big as mine.
The Star Wars fandom is one of the most toxic. And I've known a 501st guy who's sweetest guy, Brent Self, that we know. And it was the only kind of group to join if you were super into cosplaying.
Yeah.
Or it became a bigger thing, and it's just a way to get together with other nerds. So for him, I think he
feels validated by being in that basement all these years.
Yeah,
exactly.
You were saying, what's the best convention you've been to? I showed the picture. That was actually from a Star Wars museum exhibit. That was all the costumes of Star Wars.
Yeah,
and that was the closest I came to a true Star Wars convention, because I do a lot of comic conventions, and you'll see a Rey here and there, but you won't see too much like pure Star Wars, because kind of they have their own thing. It's almost separate.
I've been to
interesting
a couple of comic book conventions. There was one guy dressed as Vader who had everything perfect.
Really?
I mean,
down to a T.
Yeah. And then there's another guy done up as Obi-Wan, Alec Guinness Obi-Wan. He had he had the actual lightsaber hilt made for him. So he's wandering around the convention with the guy dressed as Vader. So he's like, whenever he sees him, he's like putting his cap, the hood of his cloak over his head. and there was a couple of guys dressed as stormtroopers and a couple of guys dressed as clone troopers. But I've never been to a Star Wars convention. I want to go to the one that they're going to have in a couple of years, down the road when I could get some money and just like go and fucking hang out there and shit.
Absolutely.
But, down the road in Orlando or Anaheim?
We've had Ken Bates here on the show before. He's in some of the same podcast groups we were in, and he was able to go to the new Disney World. I think he takes his kids there on a kids there on a regular basis. I've been to the Star Tours back in the day in 07.
So we're talking Anaheim or Orlando? Because I know there's
I think it's Orlando, and he was showing me all the different kinds of drinks in the cantina, and it really does look like a fun, chill lounge to just hang out.
My friend, different Aaron, they've since shut it down, but his family is, sister and her husband and their kids, they all went and did that Galactic Cruise thing.
Yeah, sweet.
It cost them over $5,000, but no, it's gone now, or at least it's shutting down. But I don't know if you saw this. They have plenty. He's like part owner of that Black Rifle coffee company thing, so he's got plenty. So they do it, and it's a fully immersive thing. If you saw it online, they had like costumes, and like literally they had different clothes to wear because you were never supposed to break character. And so like they had their like formal wear, and it was all like gowns like from Andor, where that's kind of like what they look like, all fancy. And then they had their kind of leisure wear and like all these clothes, and it's like when the buses take you, it's supposed to be like the shuttle going to another planet.
You're right.
And then the hotel
I remember that.
is like another thing, and every time you look out the window, it's like you're in space. And like the rooms and stuff. And they said it was awesome. And if you have that kind of money, it's worth it. I would do it.
Absolutely.
$5,000 like $500.
And it's gonna bring the kids together, get them out of their shells, say, hey, it's fun to kind of interact, just like in the movie. When did they stop those Star Tours?
Like Cheech and Chong.
Cheech and Chong.
Imagine
them in Star Wars. That'd be great.
This was like the Star Tours, I think, still goes on, doesn't it?
I thought they shut it down recently.
They might have,
No, they shut down the cruise because it was too expensive.
That's
lost money.
Yeah. I think I might actually be underselling it at $5,000. It might be more than that.
But I did rank Star Tours, and I thought it's just
Star
fun.
Tours
Like
great.
as far as a theme park ride, it's just very interactive, much like the T2 ride, and there's even a Men in Black ride. There was all kinds of fun stuff at both Universal and Disney. And
Men in Black ride. He gets
there was
Will Smith.
One thing we haven't mentioned, I don't think, and I've been getting up on a couple times, enjoying myself. We're having a good time. Is
I hope
the
you have a
children's
good
show that starred Ahmad Best, where he played like a Jedi teacher.
Yeah, that's all.
Go ahead, James.
That's off now, but I think they got the idea from his character in The Mandalorian.
Yes, is from that show. It's literally his name. Yeah, it was like the context of that show is like he was teaching kids like to do things, do like obstacles and stuff.
Yeah, and I think the great thing about that episode of The Mandalorian was him coming back. The doors open, there he is, and everybody I knew who had not liked him, all of a sudden were going, oh my God. And he was like, his character was a badass,
Yes.
Taking down a whole battalion of stormtroopers, going on a speeder bike, getting chased by 2 Republic gunships.
Yeah, Jedi Temple Challenge. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was like...
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know that I never watched the show, but I found out about it when they showed him, right? Some of the ones like Star Wars Explained and stuff, we're talking about it. And I guess one of the ongoing jokes of that show is he says that he used to be like a badass and then like doesn't do stuff. So everyone's like, okay, you're just talking out your ass. That's why you're working with kids. But it's supposed to be like in universe, right? When he takes these kids, it's like he's training them. He's like, I used to be the greatest show. Like, okay, wanker, like they play all for laughs in the show. And so when they show him actually kicking ass, you're like, he is great.
It really is cool. I mean, the dude was in freaking Stomp, for God's sakes. And
I've heard multiple times that he did not want to do that voice. I mean, as a black man, I don't think he wanted to be like doing a minstrel show, but George's like, do a bunch of different voices. And then he took that one and he was like, oh God. So it was not really his fault. But like he went on and was like, I'm going to, make this awful character.
Yeah.
Whereas George Lucas loves that sort of stuff.
I mean, the original voice was supposed to be Dr. Forrester from Mystery Science Theater himself, Trace Beaulieu, and it's a shame they passed on him because I thought he would have made it witty.
Yeah. I mean, they do a pretty good job. They did some good casting. I mean, I really do think they did good casting. I mean, I love the movies. I think it's clear.
Yeah.
I'll still be here. But the casting is, I think, almost unimpeccable. It's just that George Lucas can't direct for shit.
Whatever. All right. Speaking of movies,
did we hijack
number 2?
Number 2, you have. My God.
Okay.
What patience you have, Tom.
Thanks.
Number 2. Star Wars: A New Hope.
Oh, the
very
OG
first movie. That is number 2 on my list.
So who did?
That is the Mac Daddy. That is the one that got me into the door. That was the one that got me really psyched about science fiction. That I'd say that's one of the movies that turned me into the geek that I am today.
Wonderful.
But you remember, I was in grade school. It was something that I had no idea what I was going into. But coming out of it, I had the final the final theme running through my head, and I was walking out to the car like I was ready to take on the Empire myself. But that left such an indelible mark on my life that I would be remiss if I didn't keep it somewhere in my top 5.
Yeah,
and
it's also
everything
funny.
that came from it. Yeah,
it's funny when you realize that almost all of us, like when we're doing our own writing or looking at other storytelling, we're indirectly referenced by it. I remember I was helping my dad back in the early days of marketing websites, and he was asking for my 2 cents. It's like, how should I design this animation? And I was like, I was indirectly inspired by the briefing segment of how they're going to destroy the Death Star. I'm like, how about you have this guy walking here, like he's giving a speech? But it's ingrained in us in some way or another, just whether it's in establishing shots. I see a lot of documentary filmmakers who are indirectly inspired by Lucas's shots, and it's even more ironic because that's actually what he studied growing up, was how to make documentaries.
It's very rare that you get to see something first run that becomes the zeitgeist.
The template
did it. That created everything. That created or influenced everything that came after it. And it has spawned so much. Just not just video games, but toys, cosplay, conventions.
Effects, mainly.
Conventions is a good point.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of like huge. You know, I didn't even think about that. You know, that whole idea.
Fully remastering. Yeah.
It took conventions out of Dark Ages too. You got to think about that.
Yeah. Would anyone even know what a hologram is if you didn't watch the original?
No.
And honestly, the whole idea of nerd culture, you know what I mean? Like, the concept of being like, I'm comfortable talking about this or finding a language to talk.
I've been reading Lord of the Rings in my room, but no one
Dune
thinks I'm
wasn't
a
big
freak.
enough. I'm not just going to go around saying Dune lines.
Dune,
But like, someone said it earlier where someone was like, said, it's a trap. And it's like, you know, gotta laugh because people know it. Like, whereas if you're like, hey, you're the Quizatch Hatteratch, it's like one person gonna go, good one. And everyone else will be like, fuck off. Well, no, it's a trap. You're gonna get feel like, let's go. You're my boy.
Well, you talk about the Quizatch Hatterack. I would go at the end where there was war, Muad'Dib would bring peace. Where there was hate, Muad'Dib would bring love. And I said, where there were picnics, Muad'Dib would bring potato salad.
You look a little peaked.
But here's something that we really don't talk about so much, but Star Wars had a huge impact on toys, especially action figures. They before you had the 12-inch GI Joes but Kenner found a way to take what was already there, reduce it so that the vehicles themselves would not be so bulky, and reduce the price point, and then from there, it just took off. GI Joe in the 80s wouldn't have been like that. Granted, you still have ones like outliers like the Masters of the Universe, which are bigger, but still, that whole concept of creating something that's smaller, so you didn't, but still at least the price point
Well,
that revolutionized toys across the board.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Tom. I found out was that Mego and Kenner were in a race to get the licensing rights to Star Wars.
Yes.
And Mego was known to do the 6-inch versions of superheroes. So if they were going to make the vehicles and stuff, they would make them huge. You know, the Millennium Falcon would probably be like the size of, like, you know, a bed or something like that. So
absolutely,
what happened? There's this guy who said, "I got a great idea. Let's make them 3 3/4 inches tall, and that way the play sets will be smaller, and we can mass produce them more." And that's what started Mego's downfall. And then Mego in 1979 got the rights to do Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and they put out their figures, which were not that good.
No,
you know,
but that makes sense.
And you know, if you got the bridge to the Enterprise, it was made out of the stuff that, you know, you get a coffee cup lid out of. Yeah. I'm not kidding you. My father together, and he's like, "What's the matter?" I said, "Dad, it fell apart." My father just looks at me and goes, "It's a piece of shit. Throw it out." You know.
And then they made the same mistake with the Buck Rogers toys too.
Yeah. They screwed that up because the Buck Rogers toys, you know, they wanted
the license, but they didn't want to do the work. It sounds like.
Yeah.
What happened? They put they had the black hole in the Buck Rogers toys, and what happened was they didn't have the guns. You know, they were just figures you could pose. That was it, and the pieces would come apart. If you had any of the hands back then, they weren't made out of plastic. They were made out of like some sort of porcelana thing, and the hands would just go snap.
Like, that's stuff called the stuff they bake. They use that in Brazil too.
Yeah.
No, there's a Brazilian toy set. A lot of the really
shake and bake.
Ones that are used there that are used to.
This is why you don't drink and bake.
I'm drinking and baking right now, buddy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You are baked. That's true.
There's an interesting thing. I agree completely on the toy thing because there's two things that I think stand out to me there, which is earlier we were talking about the fact that the modern Star Wars are kind of like people thinking back when they played with their toys, but it's meant
or with themselves.
You know, and but I see it as positive. Like they were creating their own stories, and those kind of toys allowed you to. And because they were, although the Kenner had less articulation points than the GI Joes, you could still stick them in each other's toy sets and create like, what if this happened and this happened?
You could stuff them into the little garbage compactor.
Yeah, you can play your Legos around them. Yeah, you can make your own stuff. And now that's what's happening. That generation's going on. I had my own toys, and yes, you're right. That created.
I'm sure they're inspiring other toy developers as well, let alone video game advertisers. It's all kind of interconnected with merchandise.
What's pretty funny too is that the Kenner toys, you know, they were just given like pictures and not a lot of descriptions because they needed the toys to come out in line with the movie, meaning they didn't get the That's where you get like Walrus Man.
Yeah. Even if you're a deleted character, you're getting a toy of yourself.
Right. Rick Olay.
That's right.
That was a famous toy. Everyone's like, wait, but he's not in the movie.
Biggs, Darklighter. All these guys
all these kind of goofily named characters. They didn't know. They're like, I have Walrus Man, I guess.
I guess I want the Walrus.
Yeah. And you're like, you don't know their names, but it's interesting because that's where you learn the lore. Right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of the backstory is reading the lore.
It is kind of
it's like the Shadows of the Empire toy line.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm disappointed that the Walrus Man did not look like Paul McCartney.
Hey, we've got the death sentence on 12 systems. He doesn't like you.
Hey, Ringo, pull up that there hologram.
I don't like you either.
We've got the death sentence on 12 systems. Careful, you'll be dead. This little one is not worth the effort.
Like me. Yeah.
You know what's been kind of lost in this whole Star Wars thing we've been talking online is how cool a character Han Solo is.
Yeah.
Kind of groundbreaking at the time. There really wasn't a character like him in movies before.
Can you imagine?
Remind me, he's the horse pilot.
If Harrison Ford, if Harrison had not answered the call, would you have gone with either Chris Walken or Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell,
yes. Chris Russell, probably not.
I don't know, man.
Cool.
Falcon, ship, fly, fast.
That's no movie. That's not even my line.
You know, I did the Kessel Run.
Well, if it's Deer Hunter era Chris walking. It'd be a
with a
different story.
wristwatch on my hands.
They should have got Tim Curry.
Space.
Oh well,
You know, I did the Kessel Run classics.
right, and have him still in Rocky Horror garb. That'd be even better.
Harrison Ford brought this. I don't really care what's going on, quality to it, but he
Which is funny because it actually works for the character. He's like, I'm just here.
We had someone on earlier that their name is Hans Gruber, but I think Alan Rickman was an awesome Imperial officer.
Right. Absolutely.
Oh, great emperor.
Yes. Oh, I would actually like to see him as the Emperor. You really think you've got a chance, Jedi?
You asked for a miracle.
You really think you got a chance?
Why did this take a weird turn?
It really did. We must go run with it. I think that's it.
Your friends on the forest moon will die soon. And I'll be doing this shit for the rest of my life. Don't fuck Skywalker. Don't screw with me.
Don't
see,
do
Tom.
it.
You mentioned bringing the toys in. This is what it's done. It's
Well, I think this is
we're now
because
playing with our toys.
I think this is explaining exactly what happened during the Kessel Run. A lot of crazy shit went down.
Yeah, and it would be fun to cross over the Star Wars kit Fisto with Masters of the Universe Fisto.
Oh, yeah.
A little Fisto on Fisto action, if you will.
Oh my god.
So you got
Too
this
much
guy with
fist.
green tentacles on his head wanting to fist you? What the hell story is that?
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Rule 34
Conversation went
took
completely off
over.
the rails.
Man Ram, wasn't that his name? Or he,
Ram Man.
Which is Ram Man, yeah. He turns into like various sizes dildos.
Well, now I want to see a Thundercats version of Star Wars.
Oh, I think that's just Star Wars, man. That's not that different. A lot of these,
It's the disco Star Wars. Probably.
yeah, they're all disco Star Wars. 70s.
You guys, wait, hold on. You guys ever seen the movie Star Chaser: The Legend of Orin?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Switch right.
No. It's like, who's here Tron? Not me. I have. Okay.
Oh my god.
No,
I
like
have not. I
Star
did see
Chaser:
this.
The Legend of
Yes.
Orin.
Oh my
The
god.
best review I ever heard from Siskel and Ebert is George Lucas should have his lawyers at the standby right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fun fact: there actually is a He-Man connection to that. Anthony DeLongis, who is best known for doing a lot of sword grappling and everything, and voiceovers, worked on this.
Oh God.
The guy who played Skeletor, what's his name? That's the
Frank Langella, which he still says it's his favorite role ever.
Yes.
He did some voices too, which I'm blanking on. Tom, I'm sorry.
No, Alan Oppenheimer. Alan Oppenheimer you're thinking of.
Yeah, he did the voice.
Oh, wow.
Yo, nincompoop fools! I'm Skeletor! I got a face like a skeleton! Now I gotta compete with the evil horde? What's the matter with you people?
Oh, man, great emperor there.
Shut your mouth, beast man!
Give it to your
But those are some good memes. Skeletor's got some good memes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Bangers.
I'm so lost right now.
Sorry.
Yeah, at least you're not alone in this world.
Tom, number two. You had number two as Star Wars: The Motion Picture. Was number one the toys? I want to make sure we didn't lose your ranking.
No, I didn't even think about the toys, but the movie itself, that transcended a lot of stuff. But
that was your number two, right? Okay,
that was my number two. But number one,
it's never good to be number two.
Except if you're Star Wars. And number one, the Timothy Zahn books that were set immediately after the return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Those
bangers.
Those took. I remember getting them and rushing out to get them when they came out in paperback, and I read the first one, Heirs of the Empire, and it was like, my God.
Yeah. And look,
not only are they using the same characters that I grew up with, but they're introducing so many more, and it fits. That's, I think, the major problem with a lot of Star Wars stuff coming out right now. You can kind of make it fit. You can kind of push it and naggle it and say, oh, this is kind of fits here and this kind of fits here. The Timothy Zahn books,
although Mary Jane,
from the word go.
Tom, what's his last name again?
Zahn. Like Zahn.
Z-A-H-N.
Z-A-H-N.
G-H-N-N. Okay.
Z-A-H-N. You'll find
Z-A-H-N. He and Kevin J. Anderson have written for
he's writing modern ones too.
Yeah.
By the way, they brought him
back. But he fleshed out the whole Coruscant saga as well as how the Empire functions.
The Mary Jade thing I thought was weak.
Blasphemy.
I know.
Blasphemy, man.
It was just so like
it works in Dark Empire, but
there's a chick that
yeah.
you know she's
a redhead, and I have a thing for redheads.
Yeah,
it can't be a woman. It has to
at
be
least you're honest.
That would be cool. But you remember, it's at the I think the and no, this is not gonna be a spoiler alert because I'm not gonna say how it ends. But there's a spoiler for a 40-year-old book. There's a part where he is attacking Coruscant. By this I mean Thrawn, by firing basically asteroids. Like that's the most devastating way. That's used in the modern ones in the what are those
cinematic
modern
stuff.
sci-fi
like
The Expanse.
The Expanse, yes.
Yeah.
And
oh my God, that's true. Yeah.
Good idea.
Like, and it was used in Starship Troopers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
But that's a sad
and also in this really cheesy movie back in the 80s called there was a movie where they did like these asteroids were hitting the planet, and there was like a news broadcast while it was going on. And I remember Sandra Van Oker was in it, and Jane Kasmerick was in it.
Meteor?
And it was no, not Meteor. No. It was another one. It was 70s. Called Special Bulletin or something like. No, not Special Bulletin. It was something like Please Stand By or something like that.
Oh, that's a good name.
And and it's supposed to be like these aliens are contacting us through these asteroids crashing into us.
Morse code. Boom, boom. Could you stop communicating with us, please?
Yeah. So what we do is we fire missiles back and we're like blowing the shit up.
Okay, I see it. Please Stand By 1972.
No. It's another one. It's 5 hours.
Please Stand By 2. Stand By Hard.
Yeah, Stand By Me, followed by
Stand By This.
Followed
stand
by The Stand.
Stand By My Other good half.
And The Stand, and then,
No, it's like 1985.
Stand and Deliver.
1985.
James Earl Jones.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
this is Meteor News. There you go.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, but you're right. The character of Thrawn.
Yes.
Who was in it?
Jane Kasmerick from Malcolm in the Middle.
Yes.
Sandra Van Oker, who was a news broadcaster. And they did this thing where like there were meteors crashing into the Earth
without warning.
Without warning, yeah.
Yeah, I do recall this, and they film it just like a documentary, and so it looks like an actual event that you're watching. And it had the other guy,
Jack Palance, I think.
That would be hysterical. So yeah, but yeah, Sandy Vancor, I kept mistaking for Robert Loggia.
Done it.
Robert Loggia with a rough voice.
You've done it. Egods, you've done it. Written by Waylon Green of Sorcerer fame. Wow.
Yep. But when Thrawn kind of came into that whole Zahn series, it's like he's the big baddie now. He's not force sensitive. They've got Joris Seabath as the one who's gonna, the force sensitive
outbound flight.
But Thrawn is like this like military tactician, and the way they've done him in Ahsoka and the way they did him in Rebels was perfect.
I agree. I see a lot of people complaining, oh, you don't see much. I'm like, well, same thing with Darth Vader. You don't see much of him when he's first introduced because that's what's creepy about him. You don't know what he's thinking.
The thing is, he's pulling the strings. That's what.
Bingo.
Pull the string. He's pulling the strings behind the scenes. That's
I'm
what
cool
he's
with
doing.
any villain as long as I feel like they are involved in the scene and it's not just an actor hamming it up for shits and giggles.
No.
I hate it when I see a Western and I don't understand why the outlaw is like a piece of shit. I want to understand, did the other guy sleep with his wife? Did he get left for dead during the Civil War? I want to know what's the mechanism of him. And if it's just, I'm evil and I want to rape and pillage, one was like, well, that doesn't mean anything.
It's something to do. That's what it is.
Oh my God.
Because fuck,
I needed something to do. Wow.
I pillaged. What am I doing today? Gonna pillage some more. What about tomorrow, boss? Oh, what's tomorrow? Wednesday.
And that's where you ask. That's where you nickname your henchman TK421, the first stormtrooper who Luke and Han dispatched. I always love how you can tell when you're a hardcore Star Wars fan if you know like the names of, again, going back to the background characters, but you know the guy who they disguise themselves as.
So wait a minute, I got a question. When they dispose of him, where do they put the body?
I know, it never made any sense. It's got to be a very stinky Millennium Falcon if he's there in.
unless you know they.
I see some people saying they didn't kill him. I'm like, of course they killed him. Why wouldn't they kill him?
No, Star Wars doesn't have killing in it.
Oh my
They
god!
stunned them. I think
Really?
they stunned them, and they were like they went around again and they found them and they're like, okay, they're in there. They're in there somewhere.
It's
but we don't know
also
where they are.
near impossible as to know who blasts the one guy who identifies them. Is it Han who shoots the guy? Is it Luke? Or is it...
It's Han.
Okay.
It's Han.
Perfect.
He
I'm
always
getting
shoots
that,
first.
that 30-plus-year-old plot hole figured out.
Oh,
All right.
Christ.
Now, here's a plot hole for you that has not been resolved to my satisfaction. Remember in New Hope where Obi-Wan is saying, they were saying, these only in Imperial Stormtroopers are this precise. Yet in later on, you see they can't hit the broadside of a barn. So here's my theory. They were trying to shoot at something completely different, and the Jawas got it.
I think they were trained by red shirts, and that was their training. But no, seriously, I think he's having a bit of a memory lapse. He's getting them mixed up with the clone troopers.
Yeah, I think so too.
Or here's a crossover for you. They were trained by the same people who trained Cobra.
Oh my
Yeah.
god!
Oh yeah.
Cliff loves him some Cobra with Stallone. Have you heard?
No,
how
I'm
he
talking
wants
about G.I. Joe Cobra.
Oh,
No,
okay. Well, even better.
he
Okay,
said
Cobra
Cobra
Commander.
Stallone.
Yeah.
The original.
I imagine G.I. Joe with Stallone. Imagine Star Wars with Stallone.
I
not far off, man. I'm sure he's gonna do.
You and me, Vader, we got a box, man, because I ain't putting up with you no more.
You remember?
Out with it now. I don't have time for this.
But only if you can bring back Burgess Meredith.
Oh my god. There's the G.I. Joe.
You're a bum, Luke. I am no bum.
And only if he's
You got a
the
big fat greasy speed when you fight Vader. Imagine him as Yoda. My ally.
You got what it takes, kid. Yeah. Imagine if he's in penguin form too. There you go.
I have a quick question. You need the Thrawn series and the Aftermath trilogy, those 6 books. That's the essential. Is that what you're talking about, Tom?
So
No,
the
just
original,
the first 3.
Yeah, the first
The
three
first
are
three.
ones from the Dark Ages. From
The Aftermath
Yes.
is sloppy seconds.
the Aftermath, I like. I mean, I read the first of the 3.
It was a good trilogy.
But the original one is the one he wrote that's now non-canon, and that's the ones that they're taking all the modern Filoni ideas from,
So
but with some mix.
3 books, right? The Thrawn series?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
think it's Heir to the Empire, is that right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yep. Heir
Okay.
to the throne.
And Aftermath for dessert, evidently. Okay. Not really?
I'm just kidding. But it does sting how they had to kind of that's how they kind of got off on the wrong foot when they were trying to divide it, saying this is canon, that's not canon. It's like, let them decide what's canon.
Well,
It's 2 different writers, too. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
I get the idea of Disney coming in. I'm not pro Disney by any means, but it was absurd. And this is what comics have to do all the time, right? That's where we get Secret Wars and all the various things, because things get insane and you want to bring in new readers, new watchers, new listeners, whatever the case may be. So you consolidate, and then it expands, you consolidate, and you go through these cycles. So as much as I don't like Disney, I actually had no problem with them being like, fuck it, canon starts now, because now I can be like, good, now I know everything that's canon. Whereas before, you had to read some pretty shitty books, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I said,
There were some rather adult stuff in some of the X-Wing novels where I'm like, this feels like an after-school special. These guys are getting all personal. They're having sex. They're talking about donuts and other stuff. And Star Wars? What? Okay.
They're alcoholics.
Right? And
Luke drinks a hot chocolate. What the hell is that all about?
right. Wedge got shot down. The nerve. Okay.
burn victims and all that shit.
Oh my god, it's a firefighter special. Yeah.
No, the one Jedi got burned. And I forget.
And that's where Nicolas Cage comes in and says how to get burned.
So you want to be Ghost Rider. Well, that's mine.
Oh, there you go. The force is strong with Ghost Rider. So this has been a delight. Cliff was even talking off air how Command and Conquer is totally Star Wars inspired. I mean, Wing Commander alone. It's this.
I wouldn't say it's inspired, but I just loved the Tim Curry's appearance.
Oh yeah, that's as close as he gets.
One thing I gotta say though about Star Wars is that when it hit big, all of a sudden the studios had to have their own version, and some were good and some were bad. Like you had Disney doing the Black Hole.
Some were so bad they were good. Roger Corman.
Yeah, Paramount did Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Yeah,
Mario. Who was it?
Mario.
They did Laser Blast. They did.
Yeah.
All these
Crash.
Star Crash. Yeah.
Star Crash.
And I was like sitting there, and I was like,
Last Starfighter.
What was good?
Last Starfighter is totally. Yes. Tron is totally. I mean, Matrix alone is totally a Star Wars franchise. Terminator.
Franchises started. All these. Superman went 1. Now they were going to make 2. And it's like I don't know. Star Wars kind of is like the granddaddy, and it's the best. I could be jumping off the barrel here, but I'm going to say this. Star Wars started a lot of things that were great and just started some things that were bad.
I think,
like the holiday
about this
special.
in a Star Trek.
Yes.
One with you, Cam, that I think it's best surmised when you talk about Star Wars for Star Trek, that Star Wars highs are the highest highs and their lows are the lowest lows. Star Trek tends to sort of, be in 5s or 6s across the board. But those highs in Star Wars are things, and I think, Gil, you mentioned it too. It's like, it kind of defined my life, and it's been amazing, and it's been awesome, and there's some absolute shit, but hating it is part of my love for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
No, very true.
To my hate,
Much like someone who's in a shitty slasher sequel, you're still going to want their autograph and want to know stories. There's something. I think we're now getting to that repair phase where instead of just doing snobby fan edits, let's just know the history about these guys, how they became on some big spectacle.
Yeah, and I like that with my movie reviews.
Yes, you are. Very good.
I would say that today I've really changed my thinking because Jamie's point about like not Star Wars fans, but Star Wars movies fans, like fans of certain Star Wars.
Bingo. There's a big difference between
about that. It's less toxic, I think.
Yeah, because that to even James's point, he was noticing how there's a lot of Lucas takes a lot of inspiration from his friend Coppola with The Godfather, laying out the hero's journey and then the betrayals that follow. But
I mean, it's funny because no one's mentioned Last Fortress or any of the Japanese films.
Absolutely. It got us out of our ass and made us want to see what is this high noon, Akira Kurosawa cinema that he's referencing. But to your point, Cliff, and especially Jamie, to both you guys' points, it does seem like reminds us of what we even consider a good movie versus a solid popcorn outing. And but I do see people blindly saying, "Yeah, I'm into Star Wars," just like people who claim I've seen The Dark Knight or Godfather because it's a 9 out of 10 on IMDb. It's like, yeah, sure. And what happens in it? Cliff notes,
But the thing I got to say too about Star Wars is that it came at the right time in the 70s because we were just getting out of Vietnam. Nixon was out of office. We were
kind of saved movies in a way.
Yeah, kind of recovering, and then all of a sudden this movie comes out and everything just like kind of, the whole youth culture kind of swung around it, and that's the great thing about it. And guys like us who are, and I'm not gonna be ashamed to say it, we are nerds, we are geeks,
and old.
Oh yeah,
and old.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We're not asses about it,
We're not ashamed of it. We are not ashamed of it, but I'm going to say this right now: we have touchstones, and that is a major touchstone for us.
Definitely,
exactly.
That story, that whole story of Luke Skywalker,
versus evil,
good versus evil, rebellion versus a giant mechanical military machine.
Reserve warrior telling an immature kid how to pony up. It's just
the most important thing: blocking of trade routes.
Yes.
Yeah. And
what
knowing that Han Solo was a drug runner.
What other franchise can you say? I hated the prequels. I saw them 7 times each.
Right.
Yeah. If it was a lot of that, there's a lot of that.
Even with these new movies, if it wasn't bad enough that you couldn't even talk about it, it is interesting how we're having to even remind ourselves, what does bad movie mean?
Yeah.
And
what
it's
is
interesting too.
What does half and half mean?
It's a generational thing. Like
people using mediocre.
Like Aaron, you've got kids that know Star Wars.
Yeah,
it's like you can talk to them about like these touch points that cross generations. They might like different movies, but they're all talking the same language.
Yeah.
And I think the great thing is, I saw my grandnephew, a couple of years ago. His dad sat him down, and my niece sent me a picture, a video. It's like, we're starting him young, and all of a sudden you see him. He's like with his dad, and there's a picture, and it was like a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And I went, oh boy, the force is strong with this one. And I got him a lightsaber for his like second birthday.
Oh my god!
And he's like, he came up to me. He said, "You gave it to me." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You got one?" He's like, "Yeah." And then his brother dressed up as then he dressed up as Kylo Ren, and he was like doing the whole Kylo Ren the handout bit. And like, I'm like, all right. I told my wife, I said, if we go out to Ohio, we're bringing the lightsabers with us, and they're going to be freaked out when they see them, because I bought lightsabers. Like, I bought lightsabers from SaberWorks.
Oh, fancy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to get new batteries though. That's
merchandise.
The batteries went out, so I got to get new batteries for them to work with and stuff. So, but yeah, I was like, oh shit, they're going to be flipping out when they see this. So that's the great thing. I got the lightsaber, and I was like, okay, I'm a Jedi like my father before me, and that's what's great. You have certain things you can look at and buy and be like, yeah, this is
the definition of being a geek.
Yeah. And,
I wanted to grab.
I have people telling me in high school who are the most popular people in high school, oh shit, I love Star Wars. And I'm like, you never said a word about this. And they're like, yeah, I didn't want to lose. I was kind of like not telling anybody about it. I'm like, you never told anyone about. You could have told.
Why?
Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
Why didn't
you can get laid and still be a sci-fi buff?
There was this girl, she was hot as hell. Star Wars. This girl I'm friends with, she's like a cheerleader. She's like, oh my god, I love Star Wars. I'm like, I asked you out 5 times and you said no. Now you love. I put a picture of Star Wars up and you love it. What's wrong with this world?
Okay. That's
the hell? Though, because it is the beginning of the modern like nerd culture being not nerd.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say when I went to high school, when I went in like the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, if I was a geek, I was the same kind of geek. If geeks were treated then the way they're treated now, I things would be a hell of a lot different. I mean, it almost gets me mad because there's like a whole culture of like OnlyFans girls. It's just there's everything is gamer girls and gamer culture and Star Wars culture, and it's like there's girls everywhere with it. And I'm like, where the fuck
feel better, Jamie? Just say you're a Rush fan and people still treat you like awful dirt. That's what I feel. Cool, it's my way of being a nerd again. I'm like, you guys like Rush, and they just walk away. I'm like, what? I thought nerd stuff was cool.
No, I gotta say this. It's like we can thank Chuck Lorre and The Big Bang Theory for taking us all out of the
fuck that show.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
yeah.
Never
That's like
watched
what a cool
it,
guy thinks nerd stuff is. Yeah. You guys want to play Dungeons & Dragons? And that's true. Dungeons & Dragons is still pretty nerdy.
Yeah, I got an actual.
But even that's hip. All that stuff is kind of hip now, and it's just too late.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I mean, honestly, kids shouldn't be bullied, but I know what you mean. It was nice finding like, and someone said earlier, like you can just say certain things. It's like, okay, you're my person. You know what I mean? But the problem is you don't need that anymore. I mean, not the best. It's a problem. It's a good thing. It's good not to be ostracized, and that's fine. And there's still
fine. It is.
Like I said,
that's the only distraction left of any.
As you did, Tom, with flying colors.
Kids love it when you put
Yeah. This is a 12-minute song. Yeah, don't you kids love it?
Better that than singing Kids Bop version of Star Wars songs. Force not strong with that one. This has been a delight. We also got to talk about the different video games, so that was a cool side segment. I think we just detoxified Star Wars.
Yeah, and by the way, if we ever want to friend each other on Facebook, please go ahead. I mean,
yeah,
absolutely.
I'll link you guys up.
I put it in the chat. Yeah, everyone meet up.
Yeah.
We don't have social media, so we'll figure
all
it out.
right.
Yeah, even though he's on Twitter.
Oh, you're not hip then. You're not a real nerd on social media.
I don't know.
Just be warned, if you do friend me, you occasionally get more rush. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, please friend me on Facebook and Instagram both, because I always love to talk about not only Star Wars, but wrestling or
Yeah, and like I said, I think Kim's going to do it. Put everything in the chat.
Yeah, cool.
Podcasts and
yeah, I'll link you guys also do your different shows too.
I'll let you do your outro.
Yeah, morbidly beautiful.
Oh, he's beautiful. Thank you all.
All right, well, great. I'm gonna unplug here. Thanks a lot, guys.
Anytime. Stay safe out there.
With you.
Yep. Later.
Force is strong.
We'll return after these messages.
The Jacked Up Review Show podcast is honored to be part of the Blind Knowledge Podcast Network. Join anytime, talk the talk, and enjoy yourselves. There's something enlightening for everyone with this crowd of cool cats. Check them out.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a Jacked Up Review Show. It's a Jacked Up Review Show. Jacked Up Review Show.